proving that the fandom menace isn't just toxic white males, it's toxic femininity, brought to you by Midnight's Edge with Miss Sarcastic Nerd, Geeky Candy, and your hostess with the mostest, the mistress of mayhem herself, Miss Mary Mayhem. Friday or Sunday or Saturday or Tuesday or Wednesday or Thursday or Friday you're watching this. But it's live. I was about to say Friday night.
Yeah.
But it's Sunday night. Welcome to Toxic Femininity. I'm your MC, Tom Connors. With me is a couple of special guests. First off, right below me is OG Star Wars Legends gal. Say hello.
Hi, everybody. I am so glad to be here with you guys. Thank you.
Glad to have you here with us for a short time, but because she has to leave, but she is going to hang out for a little bit with us. Mara Jade, of course, friendly face of Toxic Femininity. How are you doing?
I'm good. Had a long couple of days, but I'm glad to be here.
All right. And Max Mercer says it's Friday in Australia, so there you go.
That's not true.
So what? He's making it true for me. All right. And with us, as always, drinking her cocoa or coffee or whatever it is, probably fanboy tears, Miss Sarcastic Nerd herself.
Blood of my enemies.
I was going to say that, but I didn't want to get too graphic.
Hi.
We hope so. Anyway, with us always is also Geeky Candy. Say hello.
Hello, I'm Candace, aka Geeky Candy, and I'm feeling about as toxic as a man refusing to cross his legs when he sits down in front of me.
Man spreading. Man spreading all the way.
Man spreading.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, last but definitely not least, the hostess with the mostest. I keep screwing that up every time. Mary Mayhem herself. How you doing?
Hi, Tom, and I, much like Candace, am ready to disrupt a few narratives tonight.
Nice.
Let's do this thing. Oh my God, girl, so much news!
Yes.
I know there's like a crap ton of news, just in case you're curious what there is. We have the Wonder Woman 84 trailer. We're going to talk about Captain Marvel having the most mistakes of any movie last year, besides just being released.
In addition
to, that's correct. Thank you for correcting me and woman correcting me or woman-splaining.
There you go.
Number 3 we're going to talk about is a bunch of Star Wars news, starting off with Star Wars in Crisis. There's this huge Wall Street Journal article that's out there right now that's ripping up the internet. Also, Billy D. Williams talked to Rolling Stone, and Daisy Ridley thinks that she's how do you put it? She doesn't have to check her
she ain't be checking
privilege.
her privilege, y'all. She's the Oppression Olympics, and they called her out, so there's literally hashtag cancel Daisy.
I know, right?
Running around, everybody's like, get rid of her out of there, and she's like, but I didn't know. You should have known, honey. You should have known.
Oh, we got a couple super chats to start off the evening before we break into the news. First, we had one from Matt G that's no longer in my chats here, but thank you so much, Matt G, for the $2 super chat. He didn't say anything anyway, but he's always a good friend of the channel, stopping by early, dropping some love for the ladies and Midnight's Edge. Ryan Cannell, or is it Kinnell?
It's Kinnell.
Guess what? I'm going to call him Ryan Kennel just to piss him off. $2. It's a stacked panel tonight. And Tom, that's right. These ladies are stacked and they're packed. All right. We got Drunk 3PO in the chat saying, thank you, Mara Jade. Your tweet on my video made me feel funny. Ooh. Like when he climbs a rope in gym class.
Very nice.
Right. She makes me feel funny all the time, too. So don't feel bad, Drunk.
So, yes. Before we get any more super chats here, we will get to any more super chats as soon as we're done talking about the topic, or if they come into the flow of conversation, of course. But until then, let's go. All right, I'm going to scoot in the back, and I'm going to let these ladies talk about Wonder Woman.
Wonder woman. So this is kind of an all-around table topic that we're going to be getting into discussing tonight. If you guys have not seen the Wonder Woman trailer, then, well, first of all, I would suggest that you go watch it because I thought it looked great. But our wonderful Mara Jade, is Mara still here? Where is Mara? Mara looks like
Mom
she
took her in the back with him.
There she is. She came back. Thank you,
Mara
Mara.
is really the DC.
Oh, I had a few things I had to do with Mara real quick in the back room. So
Oh, dear.
She's giving her Don't kill Tom,
she
Mara.
looks so pissed. I don't know if she can hear us right now. I think she's having some internet issues.
Well, what did you do to her?
I didn't do nothing. She dropped out herself.
What did you do to her pooter? Well, I'll go ahead.
I didn't do nothing to her pewter or her pooter.
Her pooter.
Or anything in
Oh, she
between?
said in the chat, everybody sounds robotic to her. So she's having some issues, but just get started, guys, and hopefully she catches up.
Sure
with us.
some of us sound
Well,
romantic.
hopefully she'll be able to sort that out for us. So I actually got to watch this trailer earlier today. Shot a little reaction video for my own channel, which I'll be putting out tomorrow. And I gotta admit, guys, I really had fun with this. I thought it just looked like an absolute blast. You have this epic scene where she's riding the lightning. She's flying around through the air. She's using her lasso to lasso the lightning. And of course, that harkens back to the notion that she's a product of Zeus, the god of all gods, the god of lightning, right? The god of thunder. And so she breaks it. This was just so much fun, wasn't it? That 80s vibe, bob in your head. It was just such a good, fun feel for me. She looked like a complete badass. She was absolutely snappily dressed. I loved every single costume that they stuck her in. And those wedge heels, those boots. Look, if you're gonna make a woman fight in heels, wedges are the one to do it, right? Because that's not exactly as easy as walking in a flat, but it's pretty close. You got that full coverage down there. You can do it in a wedge. You can do this in a wedge, and all women will know this, right? A wedge is like the second easiest shoe to walk in if you've got a heel. It's really doable. So I really loved it. I thought she looked fantastic. I thought it seemed like a lot of fun. I felt like it harkened back to some of the things we've seen before. We saw the interaction with Steve. Of course, she's still hung up on Steve, right?
Mm-hmm.
I didn't expect him to be back as much as he was in this trailer. You guys?
Oh, he's back. He is back. Okay. So yeah, the visuals, they were A-okay to me. I love them. I am a big fan of the 80s. Just sticking any movie in 84 is going to get props for me for that. The movies that came out of 84 and the music that came out of 84, they're classics. They're often the ones we continue to watch these days.
Best year ever.
Pretty much. So that in and of itself was bonus points for me. Now, with that all being said, lots of eye candy here. Gal looking fantastic in gold. I know a lot of the boys and the girls are going to be excited about that one. A lot of great action sequences. It seems like this was a beefy trailer, and it should have been, because this is long past due, and I appreciate that they came out with it now. I will say, and I'm not going to go into anything that is spoilery here, but there are, this does kind of confirm some of the leaks that we have seen in videos prior, and that I will leave that up to you. If you're familiar with them, then you're either going to like that or you're not. But it seems like that is where we are headed, and for better or for worse, at least the visuals are beautiful. So I like that.
Yeah, I absolutely enjoyed the trailer. I was smiling throughout the whole thing. It's really refreshing to get a DC, to hope that there's going to be a DC movie that's going to be absolutely amazing, at least in one of the universes that we all enjoy.
Can you hear us now, Mara?
Well, yeah, someone's going to have to fill me in because I could not. My internet was just
do your thing. What did you think of the trailer?
I think, overall, okay, I'm like two minds. Overall, the trailer looked fun. I think that's primarily because of the music they picked. It's very reminiscent of that time period. Mm-hmm. So it does stimulate like your excitement for it. But at the same time, I'm looking at brushing up on my DC knowledge when it comes to Wonder Woman, because I don't know a lot about that character. And I'm looking at the trailer going, that's confirming the leaks, or at least most of them. So I'm just not sure how I feel about that. And I can't really go into that without revealing the leaks. So I don't know if anybody wants to know those leaks or not. Because one of them has to do, well, all of them have to do with Max Lord and Cheetah.
So
And I think Cheetah should have been the villain in this movie.
Haven't we had like some measure of going into the leaks already here on this channel, Tom?
Yes, they did a video. Andre did a great video going over them about a week ago, right?
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
I had read the leaks prior to the video. And this trailer confirmed at least the big ones with Max Lord and Cheetah, and how they're altering their stories in the show.
Do you think that it could be setting up Cheetah for being the main villain later?
I don't know, because if the leaks are true and how it ends, I don't know how she gets her powers back.
Well, I was reading when I was watching Andre's video about this. Supposedly, it is at the very end that we sort of get full on Cheetah. And in fact, there's some video out there where we see Kristen Wiig doing stunts as Cheetah, but she's not in full Cheetah prosthetic or anything like that. She's just dressed normal, doing some Cheetah stunts. And so I don't know if that was like a if that's some kind of a dress rehearsal, like out of costume practice, or if they do make the decision where she slowly gets these powers while she's not Cheetah, then that is a sharp turn from the comic, because it's with great power comes this horrible effect, and she should be full Cheetah when she has these powers. So I'm not sure how they're going to do that, but she is going to be not in that prosthetic very much, I believe, until the end. And that's kind of why we don't see much of that. I think it's going to be sort of a reveal.
Yeah, well, I get that. It's just, if the leaks are correct, then she's only Cheetah for one movie. So they'd have to come up with the reason, if she was going to continue being that character, a reason that she gets her powers back. Because they're connected to what Max Lord has, and then he's defeated. They're gonna have to like do some like nice tap dancing to get her back in. That's why I think she should have been the villain.
So we're going to have like two villains for this then, and she comes in at the tail end, or?
Well, I mean Max Lord is a good character, but I think they should have just focused on one, have like either or. And I think Cheetah.
You guys remember Batman and Forever and Spider-Man 2 and Iron Man 3?
Yeah. The dynamic that you can play off of any upcoming Batman that we have.
Spider-Man 2?
We've got
Amazing Spider-Man 2?
Yes, that's what I meant. Where you have a geeky bad guy who is worshiping the good guy and gets something or does something to become like she looks here in this picture on this mug. And then she wants more power by the end, hence making herself. The thing is the wishes have like a monkey paw effect. I don't know if you guys know what I'm talking about. So basically, and Andre thinks the side effect of her wanting those powers are going to be her physically turning into a cheetah. So that's going to be the side effect of that.
And the side effect of maybe getting back her bow is the ineffectiveness with bullets and the inability to fly or something like that, right? That's why we see her flying.
Yeah, Wonder Woman is also supposed to be losing some powers and some other shit. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, it looks like that. I mean, we saw that in the trailer. So we saw her, in a jet with him. So I don't know. But I mean, she was with him, so it's not like he can fly. But I mean, I don't know.
Yeah. Well, that also confirms another leak about how they bring Steve Trevor back. And I'm not liking that entirely either. I think they kind of shot themselves in the foot by introducing him in the first one and having him die, because at least for me, like watching the old Wonder Woman series, it's like I can't think of Diana Prince and not think of Steve Trevor at the same time. And to bring him back only for him to be gone again.
Yeah.
I mean, and how it's done. I think
die from old age or something.
Well, I mean, he could have been introduced in this one, and the first one could have had a mentor or someone who died, that she meets in our world, and kind of helps her find herself. It was more than just Diana the Amazons, basically. And like, you know, he dies or she dies or something like that, and that's, you know, like transforms Wonder Woman's character, and then introduce Steve Trevor a little bit later because it would make more sense.
Now, as I understand, because I was a little confused on how they were even going to be able to go about bringing him back for this movie myself. And look, I haven't read the leaks, and I'm not super informed on all of that. I did think that it was really cool, the fish out of water aspect that they decided to sort of invert here, because originally in the first Wonder Woman movie that we got, she was very out of her element. It made total sense. You know, she's isolated over on that island, and so for them to sort of flip that and put him, because it's 40 years later, right? So of course he's out of his element. Of course he has no clue what's going on. I will grant you, the end was a little cringe.
The first one is World War One, right?
Smidgen.
The first one is World War One, right?
Right.
So it'd be
or 50 years later. 50 or 60 years later, even.
It'd be over 60 years later, because World War One ended in 1918. So it'd be like at most 66 years later. Quick adding in my head.
Yeah, why did I have it stuck in my head that was World War II that I was thinking about? But yeah, World War II. The whole point of the World War I was that it was a bit more of like you could sort of sit without having to make a stand on anything, right? It fit nicely there with that particular movie. So yeah, 60 or 70 years later. So my review tomorrow's gonna have that error in it, or my reaction tomorrow's gonna have that error in it. So it is what it is. But yeah, I thought that was really a great sort of mirror that they did there for the two mirrors, like, or for the two people, right? Like her, she's a fish out of water because obviously she's been isolated all this time, and now he's a fish out of water because it's like, you know, so much later for him. And so I don't know, did they have trash cans just sitting on?
That's what I was thinking, is like, did they should, trash cans should have been prevalent back even in that time.
Just not that style.
Yeah, that's so that was kind of weird, but then it gives you the sense of then like he's not he's out of era a little.
Well, here's this
sense.
is kind of a possible spoiler. As far as we know from the leaks, and there's nothing in the trailer that supports this necessarily, but from what we heard is it's basically Steve's spirit in the body of somebody else.
Yeah.
And only she can see Steve.
Yes. Yeah. It's a body snatcher.
Jesus.
Yeah.
And I'm going into this preview of this trailer like a virgin, I guess you could say, because I don't know about the leaks. Like I know much more about Star Wars leaks and stuff. And so this is very fascinating, just listening to you guys and then coming up with my own scenarios and watching this evolve as well. So
as we said, like, you know, introducing him in this way, that means that he's going to be, and how it ends, he's going to be gone by the end of the movie.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, and it's weird, you know, the trailer, it's so visually appealing in so many ways. It draws you in. And I really wish that I hope that the storyline really gives you know, it's a good one for Gal, because I feel like this could be very much a last one for her if it doesn't really pull through. So I really hope it does well, but you know, it seems played. The monkey paw, you know, the whole monkey paw thing, it's been played, and it just is unfortunate, but who knows? It benefit of the doubt. I want to see the next trailer, and I'm hoping to get a glimpse of our real Cheetah, our real Barbara, and you know, maybe that'll give me some more optimism. We'll see.
Yeah, like right now I'm worried, but I'm not going to judge necessarily until I see a second trailer, because I was talking to someone else on Discord, and so, like, and I was saying, like, who knows? Like, these leaks sound horrible, but the movie could be good. Like they could turn out to be, you know, it could all be subjective, as Andre's video about the leaks was. You know, it's like it's all perception at this point. You know, it was well received in June, but not so well received in October, and that's what people seem to sometimes fail to grasp. And that is, like with the Star Wars debates, opinion is subjective. So if we don't like something, someone else might love the things we don't like.
Right. I will say that, look, if the trailer visually resembles the movie at all, in terms of like if the mass of the movie resembles the trailer, it looks like a blast. It looks like a complete ride. And I had so much fun watching the trailer that I'm like, leaks aside, right? Because I wasn't aware of these leaks. I had managed to stay away from them, so I'm not particularly invested in those. And I'm even in terms of Wonder Woman, I'm not super informed about the comics or anything like that. I watched Justice League growing up, but this just looked like a blast. She looked amazing.
They fought in the mall and in the White House, so it's kind of fun.
And again, I like the 80s style of it. You know, of course, that's a great era for movies. And just so having that nostalgia of just 80s and hearing and seeing what we all grew up with or grew up in just takes you more closer into the impact of Wonder Woman.
Yeah. Any bits of nostalgia that feels real, always a bonus. Always a bonus.
The hair, the clothes, it all
the fanny pack on Chris Pine.
Oh, yeah.
How about that?
Rocking that fanny pack. I wanted to be like, oh, honey.
Yeah.
Ooh.
I would argue that fanny packs weren't really a thing until the later 80s, but still.
Yeah, well, I'm
anyway.
thinking her shoulder pads. I remember shoulder pads in women's clothes. And like the linebacker look, the women
and Aquanet.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Aquanet.
The Aquanet, yes.
So much.
I'm just gonna sit back and listen to you guys because I'm the baby of this whole thing.
Well, what did you think of the trailer, Miss?
Yeah, yes, I loved it. I loved the music. I was like popping with the music as it played.
Yes, me too.
I was sitting there and I was thinking, this is like the first trailer I've seen in like 2 months where I've wanted to go see this in theaters. Where I've actually wanted to go and watch this movie in theaters. They did a really good trailer, but I was thinking like a good trailer doesn't really mean it's going to be a good movie, and a bad trailer doesn't mean it's going to be a bad movie. So this could be a horrible movie, but they did a really good trailer for it.
Well, they've had like a year for this trailer, so
they did a great job.
And we've still got plenty of time before the movie, right? So it doesn't come out until well into next year. So they've got plenty of time to do even more to it if they need to sort of rectify a few issues. Certainly, Rise of Skywalker was handling their mess right up until the very last second. So there's plenty of time for them to do some alterations if they need to. I know that the trailer looked like a blast. I had so much fun watching it.
It was a lot of fun. I think I didn't really like her gold armor.
Really?
I thought it looked a bit silly. There was like some of it. I think it was like the weird shoulder wing things that she had. That if those were gone, good. It
gave her those goddess vibes, though.
Yes.
One thing I will say about the fashion, because we just talked about it a little bit in the chat, I did notice they did a great job in the subdued 80s fashion for the most part, outside of maybe the fanny packs and a few things, because 84 was a very transitional time. You had a lot of the fashion sense of the 70s dying out, and a lot of the things that people equate with the 80s weren't quite popular yet. Like the whole like flashy what's the word, neon colors and shit like that didn't come until like later. Mullets were a bit more later. Nikes didn't come until like mid 80s because they were made popular by Michael J. Fox.
They're pulling from different parts of the 80s in this, because even the movie, the first promotional poster, when you're talking about those neon colors, such a striking marketing poster. But yeah, it is definitely from the later 80s, definitely not 84. So, but it's beautiful. I don't want to nitpick. I love it.
It had a very Thor Ragnarok feel to it, even like, especially with like the lightning shooting. Like it gave off. Like the music really tied me back to Thor Ragnarok, and I loved that movie. I absolutely loved that movie. So I'd be down 110% for a Wonder Woman Ragnarok feel. That'd be cool. That'd be cool.
Yeah.
And I'm excited to see what exactly is happening when she is swinging off the lightning there. I'm excited to see that scene and what what part of the movie and what's going on, because it's such an impactful scene for her character.
Please let there not be time travel. Please, no time travel. I'm tired of time travel.
No, it's even better. There's magic.
Yeah.
There's literal magic. A rock that almost looks like a monkey paw in his hands.
If we handle magic in the MCU, we can handle magic in the DCEU. It'll be fine.
I'm just being facetious or whatever.
I don't have a problem with magic, because that's essentially how Cheetah gets her powers in the comics. I just think that if you're going to introduce both characters, like maybe introduce one or the other, like maybe Max Lord a little bit later, because he does have connections with in a way to Superman and Batman with his with Max Lord has certain powers. He's I don't know if mind control is like what I'm like thinking of, but he does have like, psychic abilities that he can control others and persuade others. Like so, he would have been, I think, better introduced a little bit later when you have like maybe a team up movie, and could go along with the comics that way, and then focus more on Cheetah in this one.
Yeah, well, speaking of Max Lord, just real quick, I just want to mention this. I love the idea of pulling Pedro Pascal into this character. I don't know if those of you who have seen the comics, Max Lord does have a very interesting ending. And I find it quite ironic that Pedro Pascal, who also did play Oberlin Martell, and if you do recall his ending scene, they are kind of similar. So it's a coincidence and very fun. And I'm curious to see what happens to him and if they have something in common regarding that.
I will point out something that I was watching John Talk stream, and I didn't pick up on this until he pointed it out, but it's kind of obvious and I can't unsee it now. Who does he look like back in the 80s? Who come on, think about it. I
have no idea what you're talking about.
Yeah.
But I love his hair. His hair is amazing.
Businessman, So it's just missing the blonde hair, but he's got the skin color down.
I do like the tanning. The tanning's done very well.
Before
it's
his tanning years.
Okay, we do have a couple super chats that kind of relate to this, and then lead us into the other chat. Did anybody else have anything left to say on the matter before we move on to these super chats? Even though there will be some more time to talk about Wonder Woman with these chats, but
I we're good.
If you're going to go on to the next topic, then I am going to go because I have to take off.
All right. Well, the first couple super chats do have to do with Wonder Woman, but if you want to go now, that's up to you. Or if you want to stick around in the meantime,
I can stick around for the super chats, but then I do have to go.
All right, no problem.
All right.
Chief Koji sent us $5. Daughter of the God of Thunder. Does that mean Hemsworth is her daddy? I'd pay to see that Love and Thunder.
Nice. I like
it. Cross porn there.
There you go.
They're already developing that somewhere, I'm sure.
Something's developing, all right. Captain Hare sent us $5. The most important question is, how many next is Wonder Woman going to slap? If it's less than 1, this movie fails. My ideal number is at least 6.
I think you meant to say next.
Next, yeah.
Gonna snap? Oh, that was almost over my head. I got what you're laying down. Look, shots fired, right? Like, I'm not here to defend Superman or whatever because it's whatever to me. I'm whatever with that. But like, I don't think they're gonna make that mistake with her. I think this looks like, I don't know.
I don't think she was worried about that shit.
Yeah,
see, if they go by the comics, Wonder Woman is a badass. Like, she's the one who's cutting a motherfucker's head off while Batman and Superman are arguing over whether or not it's right to do it.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
I'm not kidding. Yeah, see, like Mara just said, yeah, she don't fuck around. Yeah. She's just like, screw this,
Woman
you guys
power.
are taking too long. Yeah.
Yeah. I love it. I love it. She'll just do it. And nobody will freak out about it either. Nobody will freak out about it. We'll all be good with it.
Right.
Yes.
Did you want to say anything before you go, Mara?
Well, no, I think I said everything pretty much. I mean, like, it's just the first trailer, so I can only go off the impressions and that how they're like confirming the leaks. However, I want to see a second trailer to see how, like, maybe the story will end up being good, because sometimes the leaks do sound horrible, but if they make it work within the story, then I'm fine with it, because it's one of my anticipated films for next year. So I'm like, fingers crossed. I don't want it to be bad, but that's all I can really say at this point, because we don't know a whole lot about the movie other than like the few things that leaked.
Well, do check out Mara's channel. I put the link in the chat. And as always, we want to thank you for stopping by, and have a good night to the rest of your night there. And thank you from the chat and all of us for taking the time to talk about Wonder Woman.
Yes.
Good night, all.
Good night.
I hope to make some videos this week. I had car issues this weekend, so I wasn't able to make videos either yesterday or today, but I hope to rectify that tomorrow or Tuesday. So look for them on my channel.
She is absolutely content out now, guys. It is fantastic. We've been waiting ages for Mara to put content up on our channel.
Yeah.
She's finally doing it. She's heeding the call.
I
So
never hit the
Finally,
notification
finally,
bell.
like a woman, took forever, but I'm getting videos out. So,
Yeah, that little comment in the beginning, by the way, was my fault. We were late, so
all right. Good night, everybody.
night,
He's-
Mara.
take care.
It's your feminine side. That's what it is, Tom. Your feminine
Yeah.
side.
If they want to say that. Okay, I think we're caught up on super chats after this one, and this will lead us, I think, nicely into the next topic. I'm in two minds here, says Makina90 with $10. Thank you so much. One, I think it's supposed to be on one end. Yeah, the trailer looks great, and everything that I think Captain Marvel should have been, but we did hear that there was a potential first screening wasn't promising. Yeah, they were talking about the video that Andre and we all put out earlier this last month here, a couple weeks ago, I think it was, or a week or two at the most. There was a screening that I think one person said that it wasn't that good. And I think there was a couple other people that maybe said something. I don't know for sure. I'd have to look that up. But most of what people were going off of was the one guy's reaction, and that's where some of the leaks came from. So yeah, what did you guys think about that situation? I know you guys have kind of commented on it a little bit already, but
What about the screening or?
yeah, the screening.
Well, I understand it was the second screening that didn't go quite as well, right?
Yeah, I don't know about the first one as much. Frankly, I don't know what they changed. We know the movie was pushed back. That's one thing I do know.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I tend to agree that there's probably some subjectivity in place here, and so what works for one person may not work for another. I'm not sure how I feel about the whole monkey paw aspect. Like, oh, you make a wish and then you get the worst version of that wish that you could possibly imagine, right? So I'm not sure how I feel about that. I think that it could be executed well. It could be done well. I'm not opposed to it completely. So I'm not altogether sure how I feel about it. I am a little weirded out by the notion that Steve is essentially possessed. He's possessing another. That's horrifying. That's so horrifying. Of course.
Well, it's very I said in my review earlier, Heaven Can Wait, but there was a movie a couple of years back with Chris Rock that was a remake of the original movie of that called Down on Earth. And that's kind of what it reminds me of. It's about a guy who gets killed or dies or whatever early in his life, and he gets a second chance on Earth, but he gets put in some rich old guy's body.
Yes.
So I think they're kind of doing the same thing. So it's like Monkey Paw meets that, with mixed in a little bit of Amazing Spider-Man 2 and Batman Forever. So I'm kind of teetering.
We'll see how it goes. I'm not altogether sure. I know that we did grab another super chat if you want to grab that before we switch.
Absolutely, we can do that before we move on to the Captain Marvel business. First time watching this channel, y'all queen saying some real she. Oh no, y'all movie she. Well, there you go.
Darn Skippy.
You could have said it. I don't think it'll stop you from saying that. I don't think Andre has any blocks on anything outside of maybe some few choice words. So, and I don't even know if those are on there. It's hard to say. I don't even know if he knows how to do that.
You're telling them what they can do and not do.
Well, basically, if you want to take the chance, you can pretty much see. Here's the thing: we believe in freedom of speech here on Midnight's Edge, but obviously, if you're going to attack somebody, that's a little different, you know. So choose your words wisely. But yeah, let's move on.
Y'all are cool. Y'all are all cool. We good.
Yeah,
like
y'all so far have been really cool, as the ladies have said.
Hey, we got almost 500 watching in the chat, guys. If you haven't already, please do hit that like button for our wonderful ladies. This helps us out with the algorithm. Lets people know we're over here doing our thing. It's not just white males that are toxic. Females can be pretty toxic too. So, Lord have mercy.
And we may even enjoy toxic males. Oh,
some do.
They're fun.
Go figure.
Especially toxic ones in the Phantom Menace, right?
Yeah.
All the
Especially.
toxicity. All of it. So we have another article. This one is going to be covered down by our own Miss Sarcastic Nerd, who's going to handle this business for us. Miss, what was it? Miss. Well, you know what you're talking about. Go ahead.
Oh yeah, I know what I'm talking about, and I'm so happy about it. You want to bring it up, Tom?
I'm
There's
on it.
lots of people to stare at. Well, I have to read it.
Yeah, it's
I'm
cringe.
gonna read this so you don't have to.
Awesome.
Tom.
I'm getting there. I'm getting there.
Should I just start reading?
Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead. You don't have to wait for me.
Okay. So Captain Marvel has more mistakes than any other 2019 movie. Who knew? MCU film Captain Marvel has the distinction of being 2019's movie with the most mistakes, including both factual and continuity errors. Fans may have loved Captain Marvel, but the superhero film received one distinction it might not have wanted: the most mistakes any film this year. Captain Marvel was released in March of 2019 and introduced audiences to Carol Danvers, played by Brie Larson. Ironically, the movie was shot after the final Avengers film, Avengers Endgame, even though it came out a month earlier.
Oh, proofreader.
Spell check.
As Avengers Endgame also features Captain Marvel, this put Larson and filmmakers in the unique position of figuring out the character before they'd seen or filmed her origin story. However, it ended up working out. Sure it did. Both him and Captain Marvel did well at the box office, and fans generally enjoyed the role Carol Danvers played in both. Both movies coming out so close together allowed fans to get to know the character well in a short period of time. It also gave Captain Marvel the chance to interact with heroes like Captain America and Iron Man, who may be done with their time in the MCU. Like Black Panther, the Captain Marvel provides a bridge between Infinity Saga and what Marvel has planned next. Yes.
Astounding. Captain Marvel, where your focus and your energy was so much on the politics, you made mistakes in that? No.
No, but I like how they keep reiterating that everyone loved it.
Yes,
Yeah.
Everyone
they
loved
liked
it.
it so much.
Yes.
They're,
This
you
is
know,
the next
I didn't hear one person say I loved it, or I didn't hear anybody say they loved it without saying but right after.
Let me continue.
What?
I mean, we're talking about
The
her.
big
That's for sure.
This next paragraph starts off with, despite these mistakes, Captain Marvel was well received. So it makes sense that some are already talking about its sequel. At this year's San Diego Comic-Con, Marvel confirmed that a sequel was well in development, but it gave no other information. For her part, Larson said in October that she doesn't know when Captain Marvel 2 will film. Of course, the MCU slate is plenty full in the meantime, with long-awaited Black Widow solo film and Eternals due both out next year. Fans got their most in-depth look at Natasha Romanoff's return to the MCU when the Black Widow trailer dropped earlier this week. It's not all that surprising that Captain Marvel took the top spot for movie mistakes in 2019. Since the movie does take place in a very specific time period, it opens itself up for more noticeable mistakes. It's an unfortunate side effect of how committed the filmmakers were to paying homage to the 90s. Luckily, fans enjoyed the reference to slow internet and video stores enough to forgive a few mistakes in Captain Marvel. Sure.
a few.
A few.
Yes, a few.
I do want to reiterate that Captain Marvel is currently at 50% on the audience score and Rotten Tomatoes, despite the 50,000 reviews that were removed by Rotten Tomatoes.
We're Russian
Probably
Exactly.
bots. Yeah, Mary, you and I are on the same page.
We're Russian bots, guys.
Yeah.
We don't
We're not
like
real
the
people, you
Star
guys.
Wars or the Captain Marvel movies.
We
Just
don't
so you
exist.
know.
I did check out this list that they created of the 59 mistakes that were in Captain Marvel. Some of them were mostly like in the film when Agent Coulson suddenly, not Agent Coulson, the character pretending to be Agent Coulson who looks like him, how it has a gun suddenly. It just randomly has a gun. And
Yeah.
don't know
They're
if
mostly
it's
like bad editing errors, really.
Yeah. I didn't know you could shapeshift into someone and have all of their belongings. I bet he had like his keys and his credit card. And he's gonna-
Well, he needs the belongings too, guys, you know, because the ID, that'll get him past airport security.
Mm.
I mean, he had his badge and everything. He could have been walking around just pretending to be him, having all of his stuff. It would have been great. All he needed to do was kill him. But it's a
Yeah.
Marvel. So.
Yeah, I still feel like the biggest, the biggest mistake at all, the most marvelous one, if you will, was Brie Larson being chosen to do the role.
Mhm.
I feel like her butt double probably had more character than she did. So, yeah, with that, I just feel like that they missed the most obvious here. But
What a marvelous butt double too. Yep.
oh
mean,
yeah,
I
sad
know.
to read.
I
That's-
took issue with the cucking of Nick Fury personally. Like, you had this complete badass on your hands who was spouting stuff like, last time I trusted someone, I lost a night. Turns out cat did it. That's not a continuity error at all,
Yeah,
right?
what a story. What a story.
He hasn't trusted anyone ever since.
Jesus God.
Anyone. That cat ruined him.
They used to be so meticulous with this stuff. Do you guys remember the absolute insanity? Like you could find stuff that lined up between the movies that was just pitch perfect. You knew that, and you knew that they were on point. But that was not the case with 59 mistakes. It takes the cake. A Marvel movie takes the award for the most mistakes in a movie in a year.
Actually, the one below it is also a Marvel movie. I believe it's one of the Iron Man.
Because there was
what makes it successful is that the agenda that's forced into it. That's why they say it's a success.
Yeah, let's
So
just
the
shove aside
agenda.
the continuity. Let's shove aside our meticulous planning, our absolute obsession and compulsion disorder with these things. Let's just shove all of that aside because wham and power. No, we don't need to give them a Black Widow movie with a character that they know and love. Let's give them Captain Jackhole, who is going to piss everybody off by jacking a bike and proving that Nick Fury was never really a badass and he lost an eye to a cat. Is that what we've got? Okay, that's what we've got. Okay, I give up. Where's my whamming card? Okay. So yeah,
I'm still stuck on the butt thing. I'm upset because she shows off on her Instagram how much she works out and how much of a badass she is, and I'm like, girl, just do squats. Like, come on, it's not that hard. You don't see her doing squats on Instagram, but you see her doing pull-ups and all this other stuff and holding Thor's hammer and all that. And I'm just like,
Going up and
holding his hammer,
downstairs.
yeah,
Oh yeah.
And you said butt stuff.
Pushing a Jeep.
butt stuff.
Remember when she pushed a Jeep?
Can't help myself. Sorry.
Remember when she pushed a Jeep?
No, yeah, she pushed a Jeep. Congratulations. Was it a neutral?
Good for her.
It was a neutral.
I can push a Jeep up a snowy, icy hill in the middle of the dead of winter if I have some boots on and it's in neutral. Like, what are you
It's
talking about right
ridiculous.
now? Whoop-de-doo.
Up an icy hill.
Yes, I've done this. I have done this. I've literally done this.
Okay.
Yes, I did this at Fort Drum several years ago. A lady got stuck on a hill. I happened to have some good boots on that day.
Mary's more super than Captain Marvel.
She probably has a better ass too.
I don't like to
I
brag.
wouldn't touch on
I don't like to brag, but yes.
Find me someone who does have a better ass than Mary.
So yeah.
Well, I got distracted. What are we talking about?
I don't know. Captain Marvel's flat ass. That's
No, the movie was not good. The movie wasn't good.
Sorry about that.
Enjoyed it. This is the thing about it is I think it has the same level as most of the like movies that come out that people say are awful, but don't really get as much backlash as like The Last Jedi got. It was enjoyable, but it wasn't good objectively.
I want to know. See, look, this just goes to prove, like the average moviegoer, right? Even the average Marvel fan. No offense to any of you guys out there who may be chilling out in the chat. No offense to you guys. And look, I am happy to admit that I'm certainly a consumer of the movies and not so much the comics, but I do like to think of myself as a critical thinker, right? But just because you shove a woke movie in front of my face does not mean that I'm not going to be able to notice the continuity errors that you have between these things. It just because they're casual fans doesn't mean that people won't notice that stuff. But I guess
Exactly.
that is what we're going to do. We'll forgive it and we'll accept it and we'll embrace it and love it because you stuck it right before Endgame and everybody decided therefore it must be good. It actually really bothers me a little bit, guys, that they've got 59 mistakes that go on down in this, and nobody stopped to look at that and go, yes, this is wrecked, this is rotten, this is terrible, what are we doing here, guys? Ugh. It makes me sad. It makes me sad for humanity.
It just makes me sad overall that a lot of these franchises are being destroyed with this nihilism of, gender studies type of product they're putting out.
Yeah.
It's just tragic to me all around. It just pisses me off no matter which way we go with it, no matter which franchise we see.
Yeah, it takes away from the timelessness of films that you really do want to enjoy when you can see clear-cut political influences. And that's kind of one of the things I'm going to talk a little bit about in our next article. But it just feels like, yeah, it's unfortunate that so much of our movies these days are just ruined by that, and they don't get it. They think it's like it's us, it's the fans. We're all bigots, but no, it's just we don't like the politics in our movies.
Exactly.
We're toxic. We're Russian butter. We're just a toxic, sexist, misogynist, cousin humping man baby in our parents' basement. I actually from Mr. Alcazar.
Incels.
So S.H.I.E.L.D. was around. They just didn't call it that then. And that was one of the mistakes that they caught in that, was that even within your own movies, right? You guys are working on this, your own continuity here. You have this giant issue of, you made a giant point about in the first Iron Man that you don't call it S.H.I.E.L.D., that you call it the Strategic Homeland, blur, 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 blur. Yeah. It's a mouthful. You don't want to keep saying it. But back in the 90s, you calling it S.H.I.E.L.D. That was a huge one. And a lot of people caught that.
It wasn't actually on the list. Actually, that one is not on the list. So
how is that not on the list?
There's 60 mistakes, actually.
61.
You guys, we could go all night and add to this list, honestly. But we'll just cut it off at 59.
I checked, it was on the list and it was not.
Yeah, that's insane. Well, there's clearly more than that. That's just what they managed to catch. And they didn't even catch some of the big stuff, right? Yeah. Like, they still missed out on big stuff. This movie is hemorrhaging with errors and with continuity issues. It is absolutely hemorrhaging, but people still want to praise it. People still want to love it because wham in power. Whatever. Pisses me off.
Yes.
So
greetings and salutations. I heard my name.
Oh my God. Tom, why do you do this shit? Why do you do this shit?
Ooh, I'm John Campia. I've never heard of Tom or Midnight's Edge or Mary Madam or any of these fine folks on this channel, even though I did give you guys a super chat. It was only a lousy $5 because I'm a cheap bastard.
That's a damn lie. You know exactly who I am because you hollered and said that you had literally agreed with me on the Maleficent trailer.
I literally agree with some Mary Madam.
You guys in the drama, I swear. Gonna have to spank
Greetings and salutations once again.
Oh God!
How much are you paying that reader? Tom,
oh my God, Tom!
Like John Campia.
It's Tom Campia, guys.
Tom Campia.
I will pay these ladies a few shekels for reading all my super chats.
Watch us only get 77 cents on the dollar.
No, you only get about 7 cents on the dollar.
Campia needs to go camp somewhere else now. Go on.
Have a good day, cousin loving humpers.
Oh my God. Tom Campia, everyone. Round of applause.
Love it. No, Darren J. Seeley. No, John Campia is not really here. It's just Tom being
Tom Campia.
Okay. Wonderful at impressions, though.
Do what?
Isn't he wonderful at impressions, though?
Oh, he is.
It's just not the impression I wanted to hear.
I wanted Batman.
Was not the one I wanted.
If it's not Batman, it's not worth it.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
That doesn't mean start your shit, Tom.
No.
Yes. Stay back there with your Batman.
No. Yeah. So, do we want to get through these super chats before we move on to the big article of the night?
I don't know. I heard my name.
Oh, damn it.
We did this to ourselves. We brought it up.
I heard that Don Campia pays you to speak super chats. So read them.
You encourage him, and this is what you get. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Do we have them?
Batman, go after John Campia. Just leave right now.
I am the night.
Do we have any more super chats we need to read before?
I don't think so.
Okay, so then if we are good on super chats, do we want to go ahead and let Candace start us off on our next giant topic?
Don Campia, I'm coming for you.
Go on. Go get him.
Bye, Peanut Butter.
Bye, Felicia.
Candace, have you got it squared away?
Yeah, I've got an article for you guys. And guess what, chat? It's about Star Wars. Woo-woo. Yeah. Don't you think we'll definitely have Star Wars in this chat.
Star Wars.
Yes. And we picked a doozy of an article. I'm sure you guys have seen this Wall Street Journal article making the rounds. A lot of YouTubers have comments on it. It is quite the doozy. It's more of a novel than
this
an article.
Motherfucker cost me money, guys. That's
Me too.
These fuckers. They make you pay. They make you pay. But we're gonna milk the shit out of this one.
Yeah. Hey, super chats are optional, but we had to pay for this one, so it is what it is.
Pain in the dick is what it is.
So the way I wanted to go about this, because this article is ginormous, and I really don't want to have you guys just hear me read word for word what it says. I encourage each and every one of you that is willing to, if you want to read it, feel free and take a gander at it after this show, because it's got lots of fun nuggets to dive into. I'm going to concentrate on a few things here and there that I found interesting, and then I hope the rest of the girls will pick up some other things that they found as well. So basically, titled Disney Disturbs the Force, Pleasing Star Wars Fans Complicates the Saga. So back in the day, just FYI, I just got to say this. The fans are the ones that created the saga. Yes. The fans are the ones that created the saga. If it wasn't for such a great reception with A New Hope, they wouldn't have had Empire Strikes Back. So unfortunately, the idea of casting this negative light over the original Star Wars fans, it just seems like they're still missing the mark. But this article does a great job of trying to justify where they're coming from with why Star Wars is where it's at. And it's interesting. It also, in the same sense, kind of gives us all a lot of credibility, the Phantom Menace especially, with what we had seen coming up the pipe for the last 7 years. So I'm just going to kind of touch on, if you want to just kind of scroll down. I know you don't really know where I'm going to be reading, but just kind of focus on some of the pictures. So basically, one thing here they said, that Hollywood's most family-friendly brand had to reckon with racist and misogynist attacks from a subset of fans who said the films were bowing to political correctness by featuring women and minorities in lead roles. Yes, that is why we whined and moaned about this movie. That is the real reason. Just like that.
I know that's at least my problem as a person with a vagina. That's definitely what my issue is here.
Yes. So that's just one little snippet. It even goes into Mandalorian talking about the baby Yoda. It's like this article is one big, hey guys, we still love you, Disney. We know you're having a tough time. Hear what we have to say about it. They say Mandalorian director Jon Favreau said Disney opted not to prepare baby Yoda toys in time for the Christmas shopping season, worried the products would spoil the character's reveal in the closing minutes of the show's premiere in November. The decision to delay the consumer products push has led to secondhand market of baby Yoda merchandise and pressured Disney to get toys to shelves as soon as possible. That is a perfect example of what Disney does. They just totally overlook things. They come up with this great idea. Okay, we're just going to push it off completely and not even have a plan B.
Dude,
have a contingency.
Dude, let's think about this for 2 seconds. They've pushed Star Wars fans long-term, deep into it, Star Wars fans into a black market on all fronts.
Exactly.
Okay? We now have to go to the expanded universe to get good Star Wars stories. And we have to buy knockoff baby Yoda dolls from some guy on a corner.
And they attempt to justify it, okay? These two authors of this article, they pay a lot of lip service to Disney in this, but they do it in a way that is oddly, it gives everybody else credibility to what we've been saying. It's just really funny. So I dig it.
Did you normally would wait. Yeah, we normally would wait, but I want to do this real quick here.
Go for it.
No, not having a plan complicates the saga. Yeah, that's part of the problem. Or throwing out your plan for Rian Johnson, maybe? Because let's not forget, folks, Daisy Ridley, Simon Pegg, and JJ himself all said that they did have a basic outline and idea where this story was supposed to go and characters who they were supposed to be. And Ryan threw it out, and that's why Trevorrow quit.
Yes.
And I'm going to expand on that one a little bit. And this is a quote from the actual article here. It's a small quote I picked up off of this, and it leads off to what Tom said. Unburdened by decades of Star Wars memory. So basically, that's a very small quote of his. So basically, what he's saying is that they don't want to be burdened by the memories of Star Wars. Basically, the memories of the Legends or EU that we grew up knowing and love. And that goes back to what Kennedy says about the source not having any source material.
Yeah, they completely rejected George Lucas giving him he literally gave them probably a more successful saga completion than whatever they're going into.
Yes, it was very coherent.
It's been a complete rejection of Star Wars as a whole, because the first thing that they decided to do was throw out the expanded universe. And then they decided to go ahead and flush the original and the prequel trilogy down the hole. And now they're doing silly. Look,
Sorry, stay there, Tom.
There are a million and one things that they're flushing down the toilet in order for their creative freedom because of what exactly he just said. It's a burden. Well, this, as you said, Candace, this IP only exists for you to buy because the fans loved it so much in the first that we pursued it and pursued it until the content was created for us, because supply and demand, people, supply and demand. So, but you want to flush all that. You want to flush that down the drain because you view it as a burden, despite the fact that you knew that it was valuable enough to purchase in the first place. Are you stupid? Are you completely Nick in the head? I don't even understand this train of logic here, this train of thought.
There's not. And
There's
that's,
none.
one of the things I kind of wanted to touch on too, Tom, if you can go back up to Kennedy. I'm gonna keep touching on some points, but I love hearing you guys kind of popcorning around a little bit. And
don't say Touch and Kennedy so close together.
Yes, she does not represent me as a woman and what I think about Star Wars.
One of the other things that this article kind of dives into is saying that the creative freedom of the directors basically they've repeatedly clashed with Disney's need to make a movie that simultaneously moves the story forward while catering to some fans' nostalgic impulses. According to people who've worked with the company on the new films, The Force Awakens was criticized for hewing too closely to the 1977 classic, and The Last Jedi criticized for taking the narrative in erratic direction. What do y'all think?
Erratic?
Nostalgia is seeing Han Solo and Chewie and the Millennium Falcon again, not completely rehashing A New Hope. That's not nostalgia.
Exactly.
Yeah. Well, and I think that it falls on them, the fact that they weren't smart enough to recognize the difference. Did we want it to resemble Star Wars? Yes. Did we want it to feel like Star Wars? Yes. Of course, that's what we wanted, but we didn't want a rehash of everything. We wanted you to give us Star Wars, not the same movie repackaged. And then when you do decide to go out and do something different, in the process, you demolish everything that has already come before it. Why is this so difficult? People have gotten this right countless times before you, Disney. People have gotten this right in so many different things within the expanded universe. So why was this so difficult for you?
Why is it so difficult? Oh, this article lays it out for you, Mary. Let me continue.
The heart isn't in it, and the heart is George Lucas and his team and him owning the franchise. The heart is gutted out of it, and that Bob Iger's Confessions book, basically, is what I call it. Basically says how much they backstabbed him, George Lucas. So
pretty much. And so one of the things we kind of touched on was about how political stuff sort of gets into these things, and it kind of takes. I wanted to read one more little snippet I found, and then we can kind of talk about it. Star Wars is political in a sense that it has a foundation in historical politics, the rise of dictatorships, the death of democracy, but it has never tried to take a stand on present day issues, said Howard Rothman, a former executive in charge of franchise management at Lucasfilm, who joined the company in 1980 and left about 2 years ago. Wonder why. Some viewers attribute contemporary motives to the content of the new films, he said.
Because
agreed.
And that's one of the reasons why Star Wars is in fact so timeless, right? Is because you had these moments in it that did in fact, of course, touch on political issues, but they weren't poignant to today's issues, right? You're stepping outside of today. And it's a timeless narrative. That's why it stands the test of time. And the minute you start trying to put in today's issues, today's political struggles, which no one goes to a Star Wars movie to see, you immediately date it. And you make it impossible for us to enjoy that movie, 30 years down the road, like we still do with the original Star Wars. You make that impossible. You have dated this. You've stuck it now, here in this time, and such a politically charged time frame for people. You've stuck it there. You've tainted it for forever because you had your agenda. And never mind that if other people stood on a separate side of that agenda, never mind, you were so focused on that. You were so focused on what it was that you wanted to push that you didn't care whether or not you were even right or whether or not people agreed with you. That was what you wanted. And it was never about Star Wars for you. Never about Star Wars for you. Why do we love the old Star Wars? Because it's timeless, because it's classic, because it's prevalent even to today, because we can watch it in any generation and still be able to relate to the classic hero story of Luke Skywalker.
But the hero's journey, yes, it's escapism, hero's journey, everything that can, it supersedes decades before us and after us, because it is the hero's journey that anybody can relate to. And they totally stripped that nihilistic. They stripped it out of there.
So this article also dives into some opinions by fans of this on both ends of the spectrum of this conundrum that Disney's gotten themselves into with this franchise. One quote is, "I'm all for equality," said Anthony Ergo, a 42-year-old fan from Liverpool, England, "but it felt like it was the promotion of female characters at the expense of male characters." And I'm going to continue with another quote from another type of fan, and we'll kind of just talk about the difference of opinion there.
I want to think one.
Yeah. Lifelong Star Wars fan Brianna Caballos is happy with the direction Disney's taken the franchise she grew to love as a child, watching the original movies with her father. "I feel like as long as the message is good and it's relevant to the world today, it's probably a good thing to have," said Miss Caballos, a 33-year-old resident of Irvine, California. "Rey is going her own way, finding her own path, and I want my daughter to feel like she can do anything she says." Here's the deal. Rey is not the mom. She is not going to tell your daughter how to live her life, how to be a good woman and all that kind of stuff. And if you believe that Rey is the kind of character that she's going to look up to, yeah, sure, when she's a young kid, she's going to live her. When she gets to, at 18, 19, 20, and she's actually making lifelong decisions, she's probably going to look at the character of Rey and realize completely unrealistic, unrelatable in any sense of fashion. There's no way she's going to look to Rey for life advice. So that is so
people need to quit using characters to validate who they are as women or young kids. They need to look up to them, their parents, and build that self-confidence within their families, not just friggin' damn character. I didn't look at Luke Skywalker because he was a man. I relate to him because of his hero's journey, of his arc, his growth. I mean, all that. You just don't use a character to validate who you are.
Yeah, you were going to could always be sort of a moral lesson in your stories, a moral thing that a character must sort of learn throughout their story that would inspire you when you're watching a movie, that will make you walk out of a theater feeling pumped and like, I want to be this. I want to be this person who's going to go and do something amazing that I'll be remembered for, just like what's his name in this movie. Those are important. Those are good things to learn in movies. But setting a character around an ideal person will not teach a child to become a better person. It will just have them strive for a perfection that they'll never get. You'll never naturally learn something just by thinking about it. You will never just pick up something and know how to use it immediately. And you can't teach that to children. Children won't understand. Children will be sitting in their rooms not knowing why they can't do something because Rey could. Rey could pick up a stick and figure out how to swing it around and kill people with it. But it's not a good message to teach children. And that's not how you build a character for children to aspire to be.
And when did that become? I don't understand. I really don't understand. And maybe I'm just getting old. I don't know, but I don't understand. When did it become a thing that we teach our children that they can literally do anything if they just want to, right? When did it become a thing that was the kind of empowerment that we impressed upon our children? Why is it that you show, like Miss said, this example of a female who, by virtue of the fact that she is female alone, can do literally anything she attempts, even though she's never attempted it before, even though she's never broached these problems or the issues before.
She's special.
She's special, and you be like Rey. Well, I can't be like Rey, and I don't expect my daughter to be like Rey because I expect my daughter to make a lot of mistakes and to have a lot of failures in her life leading up to learning how to actually do something. But Rey doesn't make those mistakes. Why? When did we decide that this was a good thing to teach our children? It seems like a really messed up thing to teach our children.
This is about giving everybody a medal just for trying. That's all this is, and that's just the new society, and it's disgusting.
Well, she did hail from Irvine, California, so I don't know what they think out there, but perhaps that's an indication. So I'm going to move on to the next point of topic with this, and we're going to be going over, I guess, some. They threw everything into this article. We even got Hillary Clinton and Black Lives Matter and Russian trolls. So I want to talk about that. Disagreements about the politics of Last Jedi have grown so ugly that the Russian trolls have identified Star Wars debates on social media as places to sow discord, akin to online discussions about Hillary Clinton or Black Lives Matter, according to a report published by Morton Bay, a research fellow at the University of Southern California. And before I move on, I'm just going to say they just did that for the metadata to get clicks on this, I'm sure. But nonetheless, okay, moving on. He cited instances in which Russian troll farms planted incendiary comments about Star Wars into online forums simply to rile up people. It helps spread the perception that America is divided in chaos, he wrote. The disinformation campaign has made it hard for Lucasfilm executives and members of a story group charged with plotting the franchise's trajectory to understand fans' true concerns. One former story group member said, "Did racism spurred by online trolls drive their rejection of Miss Tran's character? Or was it a broader issue of how her character's arc was developed in the film? What's the note behind the note?" the person said. Often the person added, fan responses boiled down to, "Don't change a thing that I love."
Well, and this is a shifting of the blame here, right? Let's blame the Russian bots because you don't have I don't know, channels like Nerdrotic or Midnight's Edge or Geeks and Gamers or Mahler with hundreds of thousands of subscribers who are listening to these people. Those are all Russian bots, and the narrative is muddled, guys. It's really difficult. We're not sitting here, ladies. We're not real. We're Russian bots.
Russian bots screw up everything, though.
Oh my God.
We figured that out. They ruin everything, and I just find it so hilarious that these that people have actually decided to say that it's because of Russian bots that our true opinions that were not really bigoted. They came from real places that were fair and objectively, founded, and that those opinions were voiced over by these Russian bots, and they couldn't make out what's what. They couldn't figure out who's real and who's fake and all this.
Yeah, it seems like
ridiculous.
The Last of the Jedis is the worst movie ever. Worst movie of all time.
Old
It's
time. Yes.
It's
me, Boris. Hello. Sorry, that's all I know. I love Goldeneye
We
forever.
only count it
There's
because
not
we're
enough
women and if
Muppets
we
in
agree.
it.
This is such a complete
Like Valentin.
scapegoat. This is where you take and you move the goalposts, right? Oh well, of course we couldn't do a good job, guys. We were confused because of all the Russian bots. We didn't know that those people really exist. Yeah, you do know that we exist because J.J. Abrams literally just mentioned the Phantom Menace. You know we're here. You know we exist. You know what we stand for. You know there are many of us. You know there are hundreds of thousands of us. Yes, you know we're here. But now it's Russian bots. And that's why you're confused. And that's why you couldn't make everybody happy because we're not real and we don't exist, even though it's a scapegoat. It's another opportunity for you to point at something, anything other than your own ineptitude. And that's what ticks me off so bad is the complete and utter refusal to accept responsibility for their own ineptitude with this entire ordeal. It pisses me off.
Yep, and yet they go further. They say others say that Star Wars films have been updated enough. The novel introducing the Last Jedi character Vice Admiral Holdo, later played by Laura Dern in the film, suggested that she was pansexual and interested in mates beyond humanoid males. But the movie made no reference to the orientation, perhaps because it wasn't essential to the plotline. I don't know.
No.
And some fans saw it as a missed opportunity to present a broader range of sexual orientation on screen. Because that's what I go to Star Wars for, you guys, especially Disney Star Wars. I go there for the sex. The sex of it all.
These movies are for kids, dog. They're kids' movies, dog.
Yes, it's a kids show, but we go there for all the sexual content.
So I'll go ahead and I'll bust out my bisexual card here, and I'll go ahead and do that just because I feel like this is one of those moments, right? When I go to a movie and I see someone up on the screen who is portraying an LGBTQ person, right? First off, the first thing that I ask myself is whether or not it is relevant to the plot. If it doesn't have anything to do with what is going on the screen, I am automatically annoyed because you are simply playing a woke moment. You are using me in order to further your woke narrative. You are essentially taking people who fall into this category and you are using them in order to sell tickets.
Queer baiting. I call it queer baiting.
Absolutely. You're queer baiting. You know what was a great example? And this may be a little obscure to some people, but I watched a show called Ruby, RWBY. It's an American anime. You can find it over on Rooster Teeth. It's a really fun show, although, well, some people disagree with me on that, but that's fine. Last season, they decided to go ahead and have Jean, one of the main characters of the show, or one of the side characters of the show, his sister and her wife up there. Well, it made sense within the context of the story. He had to go stay with his sister, who happened to live with her wife and her son, right? They never went out of their way to portray it as super like sexually charged. The reason it was portrayed to us was because this character happened to be gay. They never went into super big detail about it. It was just there. It just existed, and it was fine, and it was natural.
It was organic. In what you're saying, organic. Yeah.
It was completely organic, and it didn't bother me. It made me happy because it felt like good representation because it made sense within the confines of the story. Why the hell do I give a rat's patoot whether or not freaking Admiral Holdo is pansexual? It has nothing to do with the story. Why should we care? You're worried more about your agenda than you are about Star Wars, so stop claiming to be a Star Wars fan. Stop it. That's not what you're worried about. So why are you here? Why are you here, and why are you flapping your gums?
Yes. And did you see that? Did you see in the past how they were suggesting that her, Holdo and Leia had something going on too? Did you see that in the past?
Ugh. And Poe and Poe and Finn.
Yeah. No, and and I was gonna, if you want to go see something fun and exciting, go watch Drag Queen. That is fun to watch.
Yeah, and you
go watch Drag Queen.
You go for that, and it's expected what you get. Hey, I watched some of those shows. I think they're fantastic.
Yes, they are.
Yeah, exactly. But do I want that in Star Wars? I mean, just because we want every box represented in this film? No, I want my story to be well represented. That's it. That's all I want. And so it's unfortunate when story is second to the people we put in it.
Yeah, and then the EU or Legends, they did have a gay couple in there, but it was done so well that it wasn't the focus.
Yeah.
And there were Mandalorians at that too.
So I'm gonna move on to one just a little bit more. This article is just full of great things, you guys. Like, I'm serious. If you have the ability, we're gonna talk about Pink Vader here. Now, I have nothing against a Pink Vader. I think that this is a fabulous cosplay.
Oh God, it's horrifying.
It is horrifying.
No. It's not.
I ride the AT-AT that was in that satire.
Yeah, I'm not one to judge, but I'm gonna say this guy is the one that said this quote next. It doesn't have to be the main character, just somebody in the story, said Jeff Lasseter, a Chicagoan who attended Star Wars Celebration, an annual gathering of enthusiastic fans held in Chicago this year in a Darth Vader helmet painted Pepto-Bismol pink. All right. People say it's not my Star Wars, he said, describing some fans' complaints about the kinds of changes he is seeking. But he asked, why is it your Star Wars and not mine? See, again, this goes back to the timelessness of the originals. The timelessness of the originals didn't have to go into whose Star Wars this is. It was just Star Wars, and it went a lot. It was its own thing, and it didn't have to go pander to people, and that's what we needed with this. The pandering is so evident, and it's just kind of, it cheapens everything. And so that's just Mr. Pink Vader over there, very upset about the lack of
representation. In a different time, Pink Vader would have been hilarious, right?
Yeah,
but now Pink Vader is a mockery. Now Pink Vader is a pushing of an agenda. In a different time, this really would have been funny, and it is still pretty friggin' funny. But it's funny because it's ridiculous and silly and it's goofy, and not and I'm convinced that this person is attempting to make a statement, right? Like, look at the freaking rainbow shit all over him. This is a statement being made here. So now you are doing what Disney has decided to do. You are using this IP in order to make a political statement. You look ridiculous. You look stupid. And yes, I'm laughing at you because you look stupid. But it's not funny anymore.
Oh
it's not
God.
funny
Supreme heretic. Shame on you. Sorry, Mary. Tom just threw that up there to throw me off. Apologies.
No. This is another example of them using this IP in order to make a statement, and that's why it bothers me so much. Look, is it funny? Yeah, but I'm not laughing with you. I'm laughing at you. You look stupid. You look ridiculous, and I'm frustrated at this point because I agree with Candace 110%. Why is it that it has to be your Star Wars or my Star Wars? There was nothing wrong with Star Wars. There was no lack of representation.
It was everybody's Star Wars. It was everybody. And this takes away from the villain that Vader is right here. When you look at the context of this, it takes away from how badass he was as the all-time hero in the movie cinema.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Alec Guinness himself said that when he read the script, he said it was a wonderful, wonderful piece of escapism. I believe he said that in an interview, and that's what it is. That's what Star Wars is supposed to be. It's supposed to be a place where we can all escape to and have lightsaber fights and hang out with Wookiees and fight with people. It's just a fantastic world to go escape to with people, with everybody, for everyone to connect to. Oh, you love Star Wars? I love Star Wars too. That's what Star Wars was supposed to be. And Disney took it and they took all of the heart out of it. So
they're literally ripping it into pieces to give to all of the people they're trying to pay lip service to. And it makes me sad. It's taking away from what it was, this grand thing that was bigger than all of us, and diminishing it to something that everybody can hold on to. And it just doesn't make any sense. And it's unfortunate. So I want to just touch on the last bit of this article, and then we can all kind of pull out our favorite things about this. Because again, this is a doozy of an article, and I don't want to take up everything all the time for tonight. But right, it says the new Rise of Skywalker is still expected to be a blockbuster, and those alienated by The Last Jedi have turned to Mr. Abrams with hope. One executive who has worked with Mr. Abrams said the director's keeping longtime fans in mind, saying it's like an invisible fan is whispering in his ear during story meetings. Following the conclusion of the Skywalker trilogy this month, Mr. Iger said he wants the next set of movies to be more accessible to common moviegoers unburdened by decades of Star Wars memories, but he knows that they will likely alienate some fans. You can't make everyone happy, he said. If you're not going to update a property, he said, you might as well stick it in a museum and watch it get old. Now, here's my thing. The reason that Star Wars, the originals, it's not a museum piece because
it belongs in a museum.
His Iger's Star Wars will be in a museum because it will be dated. Original Star Wars will not be dated. It's relevant. Yeah, exactly. And that's the difference. And he didn't quite get that. And that's unfortunate. And it makes me a little nervous moving forward. I hope he gets it. I really do. But you girls take it away. that's the end of the article for me.
Okay.
As an invisible friend thing, that's called schizophrenia, JJ.
Yes, I was going to add to that. His split personality is whispering in his ear, and it's not quite right.
Well, look, and it's not that we have a problem with you updating Star Wars. We don't have a problem with you. Look, there are lots of things that you can do to update Star Wars. You can use better CGI. You can use better practical effects. And The Mandalorian's a pretty great example of how to update Star Wars, right? There are lots of ways you can go about updating Star Wars without destroying everything that has come before. Why is that what you need to do? Why is it that the fans that made this for you, the fans that put all of this in place to craft an IP, to have an IP that even existed for you to purchase, for you to spend $4 billion purchasing value that you saw there. You saw enough value in it for you to want to spend $4 billion on it. Those fans are the ones you're going to throw under the bus. Those fans are the ones who bought all of the bought all the books, bought all the movies, bought all the toys, bought everything we could get our hands on. Those are the fans you're going to throw under the bus. This is the stupidest business decision you have ever made in your entire life. You want to sell this to the masses, you want to make this more accessible to everybody else, that's fine. When they jump ship and they're gone because sorry, bad word. I was about to say a bad word. Because you are acting stupid with this. When they jump ship and they go find something else to go entertain them because they're happy with the 59 mistakes and crap like Captain Marvel and something else is shining over there, don't come crawling back to us begging us to spend our money because you were done with us. You can't make everyone happy. So screw the hardcore fan base. Screw the ones who are going to be there for you, who are going to absolutely all in 110%. Screw us, right? Let's go deal with these fickle people over here who don't buy our toys, who don't watch our movies, who don't deal with our stuff. Let's go put all our eggs in that basket. This is the stupidest mistake you've ever made in your life, Bob Iger, and I cannot wait to watch you burn.
It don't even look like they have a story group with that, because look what they're going through. They discarded Legend, or the original EU, the holocron that basically Leland Chi, who is supposed to be still an employee of Disney Lucasfilm, and now they're going off of whatever they're coming up with, and there's no brilliance in it because they don't have anything to follow. It's like the blind leading the friggin' blind.
Yeah, pretty much.
And it's like you can't make everyone happy, but you can sure as hell piss everyone off.
Yes, you can. And there are a lot of mistakes. Look, the problem is when you cater to a woke crowd, you're going to make decisions that are going to piss said woke crowd off because you can't keep them happy. It's impossible, as we'll discuss later with the Daisy Ridley stuff.
Ridley Ray.
They eat each other.
They eat their own.
You're going to piss them off and they're going to bounce. And the people who would have stayed, who would have tried to be understanding, people like myself who watched The Force Awakens, hated it, couldn't stand that you killed Han Solo while he was estranged from Leia. You broke that relationship apart. And you didn't put it back together, and then you killed him so it could never be fixed. People like me who were very angry at that movie still came back to The Last Jedi because I wanted to give it up, because I love Star Wars, because I wanted to give it as many chances as I needed to give it in order to try to, because I love it. I love it. It's in my bones. It's everything that I am. It's what I grew up on. Star Wars helped build me. Those are the people that would have stood by your side, but you have made it very clear that you want to discard us. You want to throw us away. Why?
Santa baby
needs polka dots
tonight. That was amazing. I hear the voice saying that, and that is hilarious. Tom, can you do that voice? Can you do it? I hope you can.
Which voice are we talking about? I find your lack of floral arrangement disturbing.
Patterns.
Patterns.
Dang it, Tom.
Whatever. I have sequence on which trumps polka dots.
I have a better Vader voice.
Let's hear this. Come on.
You ready?
I find your lack of floral patterns disturbing.
Well, if you wanted me to do it like that, I could have done it like that. I was trying to do it as gay Vader, but whatever.
Made him embarrassed.
You need to do it as Rita Repulsa.
No.
Do it. I could do it in my head. Inside my head.
Actually, no, I take that back. This would probably sound like Satan in South Park.
I can't do that shit. I don't know.
God damn it, Saddam.
There's us.
So yeah, I don't know. I know I had my rants there. I don't know. The whole thing blows my mind. They're gonna lose so much money.
Love it.
Lose so much money.
Well, what's even worse is this is the Wall Street Journal.
Right.
It's bad enough when it's the Hollywood Reporter, or Variety, or something like that. No, this is the Wall Street Journal. This is a big hit. after they had, gosh, who did one about 2-3 months ago? It wasn't Wall Street Journal. It was one of the other big ones. Bloomberg or something like that, I think it was, that did it. One of those. Yeah, so you've got two of the bigger money papers out there doing stories on this shit now. This is bad. Because guess who reads, because as Andre would point out, guess who reads these trades? It's not the fans.
No.
It's the money people. It's the investors.
Yeah.
Yep.
And they're throwing in everything they're making a goulash out of this article, trying to be apologetic in a sense.
Mm-hmm.
And they're coming out as idiots.
Yeah. This is so dumb. This is so incredibly dumb. I don't understand why Bob Iger thinks this is going to fly. I don't know what he's thinking. How, you know what's funny to me is Bob Iger seems more and more and more to me all the time like a complete and utter moron, because he can't get anything created himself, right? So what is his strategy? I know what I'll do. I'll buy all the things, guys. I'll buy all the stuff.
Yeah.
I buy all the stuff. There's bound to be something in there I can shove out there to make everybody happy, and I'll look like a genius. And we all kind of bought it for a little while, because I was excited. Oh my God, I love Disney, I love Star Wars. These two things together, it's gonna be great, right? That was my mentality towards all of this.
Yeah.
But nope, it turns out
not so much.
Bob Iger has he didn't buy these IPs in order to bring them under the creative genius that is Disney, in order to expand them and enhance them and give us new and wonderful stories within these IPs. He bought them because he was stupid, and he was too stupid to come up with on his own. And so he was like, "Oh, but if I get all these guys to do it, it'll be great. It'll be great, guys." And then in the process of it, he lost touch with what it means to actually serve your customers.
Well, he did state in his confession book that he wrote that it was basically about the money, and that they betrayed George Lucas, and it was just about the money.
Yeah,
and that's what he's seen.
It was the weirdest thing. He essentially bought the fandom without catering to the fandom, because he didn't buy the story. He didn't buy the story they gave him, so they bought the fandom. And that's about, but they didn't do anything with them.
Yeah,
so it's like, okay.
And even George, in some of his interviews, like a 2017 one, stated that they have all the books, they have Leia and Luke's kids that they can use to create the sequel trilogy, and they did not use it.
Yep. He straight up admitted it.
Yeah.
Well done.
Yeah. Good job, Disney and Bob Iger. Yeah.
Yep. So I think this article pretty much just summed up all of the failings while attempting to justify them in some way that makes sense to whoever reads Wall Street Journal. But reading between the lines, you can definitely see these are all the things we've been talking about for how long? Exactly. I mean, it's like, I feel like maybe these authors actually are like on our Twitter now or something, Yeah. I have no idea, but
I have an author following me from the original EU, so it's amazing.
You do? Wow.
Yes.
Oh, that's awesome.
And so this is going to segue, as soon as we read the super chats, this will segue into the Lando Calrissian, our Billy Dean's take on Solo that we're going to be reviewing in that article.
Yeah, I think we got a few super chats, and then we're definitely going to hit that up next, right, Tom?
Yes.
You want to lay those on us?
All right, here. Let me see where we left off here.
That Mary did a better Vader impression.
Oh, shut up.
He's sulking back there.
I find your lack of faith disturbing.
I'm sorry, no.
And floral patterns.
That was good.
And your floral patterns suck.
And your hair.
This is CNN. Okay, here we go. Austin Trench, $1.99. Just let me die, says the Star Wars and Star Treks now. Let's see here. That's pretty true. Next one is Chef Koji. $10. Mom introduced me to Star Wars. We watched Empire on VHS so much the tape broke. And I had to tell her I wasn't going to see Rise of Skywalker. She couldn't believe it. When I told her why, damn you, KK. Yeah, I wore out several tapes of Star Wars.
It's so sad.
Yeah. I was telling this the other day while I was doing an interview with over there with Stephen Walton on his channel, and he was asking me about how it broke me, how it sort of broke me, and I was telling him I'd always gone to see Star Wars with my brother. Every time in memory, all of the prequels, when they released the original trilogy in theaters, I always went to see it with my brother, right? It was never, I flew home from New York for The Last Jedi, not for Christmas, even though it was released right at the same time. I flew home for The Last Jedi. My brother flew to New York for The Force Awakens. No matter what distance was between us, we came to one another in order to see Star Wars together when it released. That was always what we did. And I have not once spoken to my brother about going to see The Rise of Skywalker together. That tradition is broken. It is broken because we spent 45 minutes in a car after The Last Jedi was over saying nothing to one another. Years of ticky-tacking and squabbling and barking and bickering with one another after Star Wars movies were over, talking about everything under the sun. Decades of this tradition broken, gone down the tubes because of what you've done, Disney. Because of what you've done. And I haven't spoken a word to my brother about seeing this movie with him in theaters. What have you done? What have you done? You broke my tradition with my family. This is the extent to which you have impacted people. Years of tradition gone.
And they trivialize it down to name calling. The people who have this passion like you do, Mary, like all of us. And the real sad part of it is it's just it could have been avoided. It could have been so easily avoided. And it's unfortunate that they just had to take this turn. And God, it stings. It stings. But the silver lining is that this is what caused the fandom menace to blow up. Blow up. We have each other for this community. We have each other for this. It's therapeutic. At least for me, I started my channel because honestly, it's a therapy for me to be able to express opinion on things that are dissenting from the main media that reports on everything. Because I always thought I was crazy before I knew about the fandom menace. I was crazy for feeling the way I did about these things, and I would look around. I'm like, how do you guys justify all this? This is so great. This is crazy town. And I'm so thankful that because of all this, we were able in this time and age to get together on a social media platform, and several of them, to be able to just have community over it, basically. Yes. So there's that.
So what let me, I did go watch The Force Awakens, but I was heartbroken, especially about Han and Leia. And I had my suspicions about how Luke was going to be portrayed, that I have a bad feeling about this kind of suspicion. And the minute I realized, because I didn't go, I wasn't planning on going. I was maybe going to go to Last Jedi, but I wasn't particularly planning on it. And the minute I got word about how they tarnished Luke Skywalker's image in The Last Jedi, I quit. I was done. I was done. He is my most favorite character in the movies. Next character is in EU. I love Mara Jade, and I love the Skywalker couple. And so just with that, realizing how bad they switched from this badass hero that still had trials and tribulations, even in the EU, to learn to be the Jedi Grandmaster, to someone that just cowers away because he had an inkling of killing his nephew for a dark side vision he's seen.
You know what I wonder, Laura, because I think it's interesting that you point out that your favorite character in Star Wars just happens to be a straight white male, right? But they were happy. They were happy to remove that icon from a girl, that role model for a girl. They were happy to remove him for you, to destroy him, to debase him for you, because he was a straight white male. They took that.
A strong straight white male
that still had character development and trials and tribulations. It's bullshit what they did. They gave us he gave us Rey.
You can fucking swear.
Okay, but they gave us fucking Rey. It's not
Isn't
summer either, but
that astounding? Never mind that was your role model. Never mind that happened to be some little girl's role model. Let's take that and destroy it because they don't really care about women. They don't really care about girls because if they did, they wouldn't destroy those role models. Never mind that you looked up to him. Never mind that was a source of empowerment for you as a female because it doesn't matter because he's a male because it doesn't fit the narrative.
Star Wars didn't have whammons before. It didn't have Padme and it didn't have Leia.
Kennedy saved us from all that. Kennedy saved that from all.
That's right. And it didn't have slave Leia.
Yes, slave Leia.
What were you saying, Miss?
Nothing.
No. You were going to say something before, too, and then you didn't get to finish.
I can't remember. Moving on.
Okay, fine. Max Santiago sends us $2. $2. We need a forum with them, like a town meeting. They won't listen to us, though. You know, KK may sit there and say, oh, yeah, this is a fan thing. We feel like we share Star Wars with the fans. Fuck you, do.
Yeah. They have advisors they say they've hired to make sure that they are paying attention
Advise
to the
them
fans.
to do their job.
Advisor just in their ear and their head, basically. That's what JJ said, right?
Yeah. He's hearing fucking voices. He needs help. Not a trilogy.
Fan run all night.
So ridiculous. Y'all, you can't even make this up. It's so sad.
DCV Titan. Oh, go ahead.
Like pictures in a book, JJ.
He's the man in JJ's mouth.
Oh my God.
What is she putting in JJ's mouth?
No, that's what what's his face from The Shining is.
Oh God.
Toby. But if you read the book, you find out who Toby really is. DCV Titan sent us $2. Gay Vader, how do you breathe with the lisp?
You don't.
You
try.
Tom's gonna do it.
Okay. Anyway, Makini90 sends us $20. Thank you so very much. What's even more insulting is that you can make an endless profit if you stuck with the plan that George laid out or even not disregard the EU. There are countless great stories and you can make great films. Now, okay, I'm not an EU fan necessarily. I've read a couple of things here and there, but I was never like die hard into it. And I know a bunch of you ladies here are on the group. So I'll let you get into that in a moment. But just my point of view, I can get it from a certain aspect. You don't want to have to tie yourself down to something that's, you know, already been written and old and people already know where it's going. But they missed the opportunity of picking it up at a point where we hadn't seen yet, since I don't know how far into the future the books got yet.
I can answer that.
And I'm sure you will. And again, to George's trilogy that he laid out, yeah, he's a great story idea guy, and if you just went with it and got some great writers to work with it, it would have been cool. But KK allowed the ship to sail with what Bob Iger wanted to do, and he thought that going with the old school Star Wars was a safer move. Now, from a financial point of view, it makes sense, because despite what most people have in their memories of the prequels, especially younger people, they were a disaster for Hollywood. And there was a lot of shit we see now went down between episode 1 and 2. Like with toys being left on the shelves, collecting dust in clearance bins, and, you know, fan backlash and
like
fandom menace.
Yep.
And yeah, it even drove George Lucas from the internet, which he was an early adopter of. So yeah, it was a big mess then too. So again, I know the EU is very special to a lot of fans, but one thing I always have to point out to EU fans is the percentage of the EU fans is so small compared to the big overall picture of Star Wars' reach.
It doesn't even need to be EU fans, though, right?
No, I know, but
non-EU fans respect the EU, right?
Yeah, and then they can, like, okay, so we're going to go back onto that to where George, if they would have used his treatment. Now, story treatments are very vague, so you can expand them with writers and stuff. Like, just say the OT. Luke was supposed to be a female in the original, and he was supposed to be Star Killer. That was evolved into who he is. Just like Han was supposed to be a green alien, he evolved into who he is now. with the EU and George's sequel trilogy treatment, it could have happened right after the novel Crucible, which is a time gap after post Return of the Jedi, where the next big three were picking up, and that's Jaina Solo, that's Jagged Fell, her husband, and that's Ben Skywalker. Luke, Han, and Leia were going off and basically retiring, looking for Mortis, looking for a way to get rid of Abeloth. And then also that can expand on the wheels, just like George had stated that he wanted to expand on the wheels. Perfect.
And then some expansion into the Will stuff, right? Like they sort of touched on it a bit in Clone Wars, and it proved that it could be done, and it could be done well, right? They would have loved to. There were so many directions that they could have taken this, so many places that they could have gone with this, that they opted not to do for creative freedom.
Yeah, and they're still cherry picking from the EU.
Yeah, creative freedom, but then put the directors on a tight leash so they end up walking.
Exactly.
This is such a baloney article. It doesn't make sense in so many ways, but it's still funny to hear them all whining and basically just preparing everybody for this failure. There's even a chart in it. I don't know if you want to show this because it's just kind of interesting before we move on. The chart showing the sales of all. I don't want to catch you off guard.
I closed it, but that's all right. I'll bring it up.
There's a chart that just basically shows the sales of the movies in order, and it's just pretty interesting to see that. And then also looking at, there's a chart too of the I guess all of the timing of all the releases that Disney's done for Star Wars compared to the releasing times pre-Disney of Star Wars, and you can just. There's something to be said about allowing a certain amount of time between the movies to give the movie, I guess, a good chance to survive in terms of the writing, in terms of the plot development, in terms of advising with a lot of people on the direction, instead of going into this, how many movies can we get out in 5 years? I mean, that's
anticipation for us moviegoers, for us franchise lovers, because then you have that time gap like George did between a lot of his movies that we are anticipating what's going on. We have like 3 years or a year to almost 2 years going on waiting, and that builds up excitement.
Yeah. And they've got multiple platforms that they were using in the interim between them. Shadow of the Empire video game was fantastic, carrying over between the movies. And now we've got streaming services being able to do the same. So hopefully they will slow down and really take note of the direction because it's so important.
Yes.
You're trying to get the grass, Tom.
Yes, so there you can see clearly Force Awakens, boom, Rogue One, Last Jedi, and then Solo. So it's just interesting. Solo was so low when it came to its profit margin.
That just shows you that show you that the fandom menace is like at least 2/3 of the audience.
Right.
Yeah. And I cannot wait to see where this one falls in. I just really am looking forward to seeing the next one.
The domestic box office sales, and they can't rely on China for this crap, right? Because China's not coming out for this stuff, right? So you have America.
They'd have been better off saying that they had Chinese bots going after this movie than Russian bots. But anyhow, we got a couple more super chats, and we want to get moving here. Matt G sent us $2. Episode 9 Blu-ray will have all the deleted plot as bonus. No, they won't, because then they'll prove us right. Otherwise, they would probably. Colin 4486, $5. Thoughts on Baby Yoda being a Gary Sue, even though he's cloned from a Jedi Master who has all the training that is encoded in his genes. We're not going to get into that one so deep, because I know a lot of these people on the panel have a lot of different opinions on that, and I'm assuming most of you ladies probably have a video on the subject.
Yes, we do.
I'm sure
I avoided it.
What was that? Okay, let's take one at a time. Mary, start first.
I'm sure Candace does. I don't look. We don't know anything about Baby Yoda or his origins yet. That's anyone who says they know anything about Baby Yoda is making something of an assumption, right? At least Candace may know something, but that woman does more research than I've ever seen anyone do on anything. I'm
a geek. What can I say? I like to read.
Woman we don't know. We don't know the background. She's confident for a reason. And even if he were cloned, Master Yoda's abilities are not encoded into his DNA. He spent 900 years honing those abilities. He had a high midi-chlorian account, which means a whole lot of potential. And potential I am happy to acknowledge. So I'll leave it there.
Yeah. And also too, you know, we like when you look at, okay, I'm going to refer to the original EU because right now that's all we have to refer to when it comes to this. Usually cloning people with force abilities, force sensitives, they end up turning mad.
Master Sabaoth.
Like Lord Sabaoth. And so he's a great character to look at when it comes to that. So if they're going that approach, are they going to copy mimic the Thrawn trilogy from that, or are they going to go a different way? But see, we don't know what's going on. We don't even know if this Yoda species of a baby is even cloned. And so it's a big mystery. And then hopefully, I'm praying that Filoni and the rest of the people decide to keep the species a mystery and honor George Lucas. However, we have learned that Disney Lucasfilm never honors George Lucas. So we'll find out.
Yeah, I'm even curious if how much they really consider Clone Wars fucking. They say it's canon, but I wouldn't be surprised if JJ wants to go a different direction. They won't. So you
They
never
claimed
know.
it's canon. So
They claim it is, but that don't
Yes,
mean
it is.
shit.
well, that I get that. I get it doesn't mean anything. It should mean something. It should mean something if you claim it's canon.
I'm just going to say real quick, for sake of time, I think that the next week's of Toxic Femininity might have a segment close to this. There might be some more Yoda stuff next chapter. So stay tuned. I think y'all might be interested to see that.
Plus, we'll have seen some more of The Mandalorian by then, too.
Yeah. Well, that's what I'm talking about. The next chapter, I'm about to put a video out on it. There's going to be some stuff. So, yeah.
And I'm getting a video on The Mandalorian too. So,
NZ Slappy gives us 10 New Zealand dollars. I'm assuming that is. I got mansplained by Russian bots and I enjoyed it. I'm glad that you enjoyed your mansplaining. I will do it again if you'd like. I don't like The Last Jedi, though, according to everybody. So, I will send my bots after it and destroy it.
Yes. We all like the mansplaining here. Yes. I always think of Rocky and Bullwinkle. Like it's Boris and Natalia.
We get Squirrel and Moose.
Must get Moose now.
Moose
I love it.
Moose and Squirrel.
We will get the secret from Squirrel.
Secret from Squirrel.
I always think of dodgeball.
Dodgeball, yeah.
yeah, you can't adopt the Thrawn trilogy into Disney because Luke is a badass.
Yeah, I have a feeling they want to at some point, but yeah, it's hard to say. Chef
They've
already
nerfed Thrawn in Rebels.
Yes, they
did. I was going to say, did they already? Yeah, I didn't watch that yet.
There's too much emotion and passion in those stories for Disney to do anything.
Okay, we ain't got a lot of time left, and we got a few more stories we want to get through here, at least two. Okay. We'll try. This one has been talked about a little bit this week, so we're going to just concentrate on the main aspects of it. But Billy D finally spoke out after the whole gender fluidity thing. He said, I don't know what the hell that is. The only fluid I know of is Colt 45.
Yeah, I think we handed this story over to Alora, right?
Yes, it is. And so what we're going to do is we're going to basically pass the gender fluid a little bit, because, we are going to talk about what he feels about Solo, the Star Wars movie. So this kind of goes into what we've been talking about in the other article. So let's get at this. So this is Rolling Stones right here. And so what we're going to do is we're going to start somewhat in the middle of the article. So he loved that Lando Calrissian wasn't written for any particular ethnicity. I met with George Lucas and he explained he had gotten flack about Darth Vader. Okay, so we're going back to the pink Darth Vader now, in a sense. The big dark figure. Ooh, big dark figure. Okay. Being a villain, and all he had been thinking was a guy in a white hat, a guy in a black hat, Williams says. He wasn't thinking racially. So when they gave me a script, I said, these guys wear a cape, added Calrissian. What is that? Italian? He looked it up. Armenian. What an opportunity to move outside the box. So that goes back to the other article we were talking about with them throwing everything and their kitchen sink in that article. Now, to me, I'm Lando, adds Williams. Noting his respect for the actor who attempted the role in the 2018's Solo. I love Donald Glover. He's a brilliant young man, but his hair was not how I thought of Lando. He was more Afrocentric with the hair. I have nothing against that, but when I created Lando, he was beyond all of that. So that's very interesting because back then they weren't pandering to gender or any agenda in their movies, and neither was Billy D.
Yeah, he was legitimately colorblind, which is fantastic.
Yes. Exactly. And so he wasn't thinking of playing the role as a Black man. He was just thinking of playing the role as a smooth, suave man, and based upon, like the 50s era, and just being himself.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So go ahead.
No. I just think that it's amazing because so they misrepresented this man so completely in so many different articles, right? Mm-hmm. They put it out there as though he agreed with the representation of Pando Lando, right? They put that out there over and over again. But he gave you his words. He gave you his words, and you decided to ignore that and decided to push him out there as though he supported this, as though he was actually legitimately behind the presentation of Lando that we got, as though he was good with that. But he was never good with that, and he never said he was gender fluid. He didn't even know what the hell you were talking about.
He did know because of his style, though. A lot of women were all about his gender fluid. That's all I can say.
Colt 45 works every time.
Okay, so we're gonna move on. He was also perplexed by Solo's suggestion that Lando was in love, maybe lust, with a droid. I think that's the reason they didn't have the success they could have had. He says, because they were going for something that was topical. Mm-hmm. Okay. Instead of an adventure that is far beyond those questions. If you're talking about this huge, incredible story, why lock yourself into this tiny moment between a character like Lando and the robot friend? And so he's spot on with this because his character was never about romancing anything. Yes, he was suave and debonair. We've seen that with him, how he was like, kissing Leia on the hand and being very cheeky and flirtatious and making Han jealous. And that fit perfectly because that fit the progression between Leia and Han.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and he nailed it on the head. He knew that this was a problem. He knew that nobody tuned into Solo. Nobody went to go see Solo so that they could go watch Lando go be a robot fucker. That's not what they came to see. That's not why they're here. I'm just saying that's not the point. And Lando and Billy D knew that. He knew that from get-go because he understood the character. He legitimately understood the character. It had nothing to do with an agenda for him, right? Oh, this is an Armenian style. I'm going to rock this. I'm going to throw my cape on. I'm going to walk around like a grand, glamorous badass and be a complete and utter epic icon to people for generations to come. He knew because it was beyond the politics. It was beyond the agenda. Mm-hmm. Something grand and stylish and glorious and wonderful. And he was so smooth and debonair. And he knew that that's what it was about and not Pando Lando banging a washing machine.
Yeah. His gender fluid was basically not about the droids, if you get what I mean.
Yeah, not in the least. No.
Every time anybody brings up Pando Lando, the only thing I can do is mutter robot fucker under my breath. That's all I can do.
Yeah, I feel like this is the treatment they're giving a lot of the originals cast. I mean, we've seen what they did to the actor of, what was it, C-3PO, and what they, just tossing people to the side, Mark Hamill, and it really is unfortunate that they decide to speak for the elderly because they think the elderly don't know what they're saying, and it just kind of speaks to their own ineptitude with it, listening and learning about other people outside of the Hollywood bubble. Really, Billy D's a national treasure. God bless that man. And I'm just happy to see that this follow-up article to that nonsense. And I knew something was fishy. I knew you could smell
that
it
coming.
Oh, that's what she said. Yes.
Yeah. With his gender fluid, right?
I was like,
yeah.
He's old.
Gender fluid everywhere.
He's old and he's confused. He has no idea what they're talking about, right? Like he's talking about Carl Jung. He's talking about legitimate psychology, a respected field. He's talking about people being in touch with their feminine or masculine sides, not gender fluid. Hey, I'm a man. Hey, I'm a girl. Hey, today I'm somewhere in the middle. Please call me it. Like that's never something that even entered his brain. He was talking about a legitimate but this is the world we live in. The world we live in says, oh, someone talks about something in psychology. They use the notion that you should be in touch with the multiple facets of your personality and immediately jump to something as ridiculous as gender fluid, right?
Maybe some idiot got him mistaken for Prince or something.
But why? But why go there? Why go there immediately? There's this legitimate thing sitting right here.
Why go there? Because it gets clicks, it gets headlines, it gets noticed.
And it serves their narrative. You know, like I bet you Billy D is a very great charmer to his wife. I bet you he can cook her a great meal if he needed to. And yet he is this man's man.
Seriously, I want to go sit on that man's lap and call him daddy. I don't care. Like that is the epitome of a man to me. I'm just saying.
Telling him, man.
The fact that he's in touch with his feminine side makes him all the more appealing to me, right?
Exactly.
Not the notion that he's,
but not in a way that diminishes his masculinity. That's the key.
And whatever happened
to touch your feminine side.
Whatever happened to allowing our men the space to cry without judgment? This has given them judgment. When they seek that side of that sensitivity, now they're being judged as gender fluid. You know, what happened just to give our men the confidence and the time to sort out their own feelings and still be toxic men?
No, it's not possible. Yeah. Can't do it anymore. God forbid. God forbid.
Yeah, we got to get through these super chats real quick.
Okay.
Matt G. Obi-Wan briefly used Red Saber in Clone Wars, and some said it should happen because it hate flows from the Sith. That's why the blade is red. I always thought it had more to do with the color of the kyber crystal, but anyway.
Yeah. Well, they're synthetic. So that is
that's part of the red. Yeah, that's why I thought the redness was because they weren't. Yeah. Anyway, so yeah, I guess it depends. What, you got something to say to that, Miss? Go ahead.
And Anakin uses his blue lightsaber when he fights Obi-Wan, Revenge of the Sith.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. So if that was the case, that he was already Darth Vader, his blade should have transformed.
Of course, then someone will make he lost that fight, and they'll break it down too. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying someone will.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
All right, Daniel sent us $10. Thank you so much. Billy D comes from a wonderful period of time where we actually had more racial harmony than we do today. He sounds a lot like Avery Brooks, Captain Sisko, who was pro meritocracy. If I could talk, I know the word, I just can't talk. And not racial. Yeah, and not only that, I mean, I've said this a million times, I'm sure other people have too. You know, that's part of the problem with Hollywood nowadays and movie nowadays and the kids nowadays is they think life didn't happen before 2000. We are racist, we're bigots, and we need to change and grow. It's like, listen, we went through the racial stuff in the 60s, we went through the feminist stuff in the 70s, the equality thing in the 80s. The gay stuff and beyond in the 90s. It's like we've been through all this, guys. You just don't know it yet. For some reason, the millennials and the younger generations and Hollywood, they want to pretend they've been ahead of the curve, so they're behind all this shit because that's one of the few places where women don't see equality. Same thing with like probably Wall Street in Washington. The richest places on earth.
Yeah. They're the chosen ones to just recreate all of this for us. We're so blessed.
Blessed. So now we're just seeing a copy of a copy, which is always diluted.
Yeah, pretty much.
So yeah, that's kind of, I don't know if anybody wants to add to that, but I know we got to get rolling here. So we got another
Go ahead.
Super chat. I just go ahead while I'm looking for the super chat.
Here. No. I jumped the gun there. I'm pulling up my other article here.
Amateur textual criticism sends us that's €5. Anakin Skywalker, Val Vader was openly gay. The saga Star Wars with Tommy was so revealed that. Deal with it. I'm gay, okay?
Deal with
You're tearing me apart, Luke. Look. Anyway, that's my really crappy Tommy whistle. I think we're caught up now. So if you want to, we got what, maybe a couple more minutes. If you ladies are cool with that, we'll touch on the other
I'm good
article.
with this. Final article here. So this is uber fun. Daisy Ridley plays woke games and wins woke prizes. Now I'm just saying that while I wait for Tom to pull up the article for you guys because this is a doozy. It's such a doozy. And look, I will say I'm proud of her for taking a stand for just a moment, right? For going, okay, well, no, I'm not privileged. No,
even unintentional.
Yeah, an intentional one, but you played this woke game yourself, sweetheart. So let's go ahead and get into this here.
Don't get me started. Okay.
So Star Wars actress Daisy Ridley criticized for denying privilege. Oh boy, howdy. So the privilege I have, how? No, genuinely how, Ridley said in an interview when asked if privilege helped her deal with fame. And oh my gosh, she got so much backlash for it, guys. So actress Daisy Ridley is facing backlash after claiming she is no more privileged than her Star Wars co-star John Boyega. Ridley was born in Westminster and was privately educated, while Boyega is the son of British Nigerian parents who grew up on an estate in South London and applied for a hardship fund to join Theatre Peckham. So her remarks made in an interview with The Guardian have been criticized as tone deaf on social media. Boyega posted a Star Wars video on Instagram and said, "I have all the love in my heart for Oscar, Daisy, and everyone else I've shared the silver screen with. Although it's not known if this is in response to the criticism of his co-star." So Ridley compared herself to Star Wars co-star John Boyega, and in her interview, she was asked if she thought her privilege made it easier to deal with fame. Ridley apparently seemed shocked and replied, "The privilege I have? How? No, genuinely, how?" According to the article, when writer Noshim Iqbal explained, she meant in terms of class and wealth, and added that it was not a criticism. Ridley went on to say that there was little difference between her experiences and those of Boyega. John grew up on a council estate in Peckham, and I think me and him, that's bad grammar, sweetheart, are similar enough that no. Asked whether private school gave her additional confidence, she replied, "No, I think also it's taken me a little while to be okay with it. I was always fairly confident, and I think that comes from being part of a big family who are all quite chatty." She later added, "I'm not saying what you're saying is wrong." So she backtracked on this a bit. I've just never been asked that before. So I'm like, "Oh, I don't think so." Many readers have hit out at Ridley on social media. Yeah, they have. The very definition of hashtag privilege, not even being aware of how your schooling and parents have influenced your life. No, one Twitter user said. Let's see. Another said, "Daisy Ridley being tone deaf and exposing herself as completely blind to her immense privilege." However, others defended Ridley, and I think this defense is hilarious because they're still calling her a shitlord. So, however, others defended Ridley, with one fan saying, "Like any other human, she isn't perfect, and she too can make mistakes and learn from them." Yeah,
me too. Sorry.
Ignorant, but for that she needs to be educated properly and not canceled.
I loved reading that. It was so backhanded. Like, we love her. She's just really stupid, guys.
Yeah, guys. She's ignorant. She doesn't understand that there's a hierarchy here.
I mean, look at the face.
There's
Yes, the face itself.
Or my name.
I just love how this is so analogous to the whole situation we have with her being a privileged Mary Sue. And her like, "But guys, I run and jump on things all the time and I know how to get to places in the it's like, no, that doesn't make you a Jedi.
No. And look, she opened up this can of worms herself a few years ago when she barked at fans, calling them sexists and misogynists for saying that Rey was a Mary Sue. You opened that can. You decided to play in the Oppression Olympics. You play woke games, you win woke prizes. Yes, these people eat each other. This is what they do. You engaged in these social politics. You decided that this was because at the time it benefited you. But now you want to play, oh, poor little white woman. Well, The hierarchy dictates that any person of color will always outrank you in oppression points, sweetheart.
Yeah, you don't get a voice anymore.
Yeah.
Sorry.
You don't seem to matter so much anymore.
Unless you join the Phantom Menace, we'll have you. Why not?
We don't give a shit what you look like.
Come on over. Let's talk how privileged you don't feel that you are. That's fine.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm going to add to that as because she basically compares herself growing up where she does with how John grew up, and basically his family moved to make a better life for him. However, she doesn't know the struggle that he may have faced being a Black man in England, or where he's at. So I'm going to go ahead and state this, that she states, "Oh, I was in a private school," but I bet you she would still compare, well, Native Americans went to boarding school, so we're the same. Because she has no clue on what she's talking about. She has no clue the struggles behind it because she didn't have the struggle. That's what she's saying. I didn't have a struggle, so I don't see. That's what she's saying in this article.
Well, and that's why this is stupid to begin with, is because when you start comparing everybody, how much harder your background is compared to someone else's background, that's when you can never move past said background. Do you want to remain stuck in the past, or do you want to empower yourself? You're such a strong, empowered woman. You're not a Mary Sue at all. Ray's not a Mary Sue, right? You're such a strong, empowered woman, but everybody's determined to focus in. This is the problem. You start out from a position of having been oppressed, right? So everybody is sitting there trying to one up one another, but you can't possibly know what everybody around you has gone through all of the time, having to tiptoe and walk on ice and walk on eggshells around people all of the time is no way to live. But your path, Rafiki said it, it's in the past. It's in the past, right? So put it behind you where it belongs. Move forward. You have been given a wonderful opportunity. And I'm not saying that whatever is in John Boyega's past isn't rough, isn't difficult, isn't something that he hasn't had to overcome. But why do we keep staring at all of this stuff all of the time and then sit there and compare one to the other? If
exactly.
You're comparing it, we wind up in this place where everybody's always comparing how hard it's been for them up to this point, and they can never.
We're all trying to just like jump over each other and see who's got more of what, and it's like
exactly,
it's so stupid. It's just,
so this basically shows that Daisy is a Mary Sue in real life because she doesn't really have character arc because she hasn't experienced anything. And John Boyega's parents came and went through struggle for him to be where he's at.
Yep, and then to get sidelined in the franchise by very woke Hollywood, by the way. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
It's a fun little game to play, to sit and talk about who's had the worst backgrounds, who's been through the worst. Every individual person has gone through something that was difficult for them in their own particular fun little way. No one has had a worse experience than another person. It's dumb. It's a dumb thing, and it's a millennial thing. It's a way to feel special. I'm special because I had 6 different horrible things happen to me, as opposed to Jim, who had 2. It's ridiculous. And it was definitely a dumb thing to ask her. But, ask a stupid person a stupid question, they're going to do something stupid with it.
I have so much had worse life than everybody.
Yeah, it was so hard, you guys. I had to wake up early and go to school, and I didn't even like the school. There was only girls there.
I was homeschooled. I had it so rough.
Seriously, is there anything more annoying than a dick measuring contest? Because that's all this boils down to.
How about a tit measuring contest?
Look, either way, I don't care what you want to call it. You can slap a feminine friendly label on it if you want to, but there's nothing more annoying than a dick measuring contest. Than people sitting there comparing what is or isn't better or worse. And I'm sorry, but in this instance, it is absolutely equating it to, well, I'm better than you because I've overcome more. Well, if you had actually overcome it, sweetheart, then you wouldn't still be talking about it. You'd move on with your life. You would move ahead like, I don't know, a non-victim does. You remain a victim of those circumstances. Look, I'm not downing John Boyega here. I'm not downing him because he didn't bring it up. He didn't bring it up. And I actually have quite a bit of respect for the man because I feel like he's been handling a lot of this stuff lately a lot better than some of other people have. But Daisy Ridley, honey, you swam in this pool with these people. You decided to get in there and you decided to do this. And so now you don't understand how the game works.
She thought they were all call her, Raylo, and now we love Ray, and but you say one thing out of line, Miss Ray, you're back of the line.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
They'll throw you under. They threw us under the bus. If they acknowledge we exist, which they don't like to do, but when they do bother to acknowledge that we exist, they call us every horrible name in the book. We get it worse than anything because we're here, we're women, and we're speaking our mind about this stuff, and we don't agree with the narrative.
Oh, we don't exist. We actually don't exist.
No.
We're non-existence. We're figments of really bad imaginations.
And they don't like to acknowledge us. But when they do acknowledge us, when we are acknowledged, we get slammed with the worst crap that you. So don't join us, sweetheart, because you don't want this mess. You don't
She won't be able to handle this mess.
Difference between you and us, Daisy Ridley, is that we're not sitting here crying, moaning, and bitching about it. We knew what we were walking into, and we're happy to accept that because we have a goal. We have a legitimate mission in mind. We're sick and tired of seeing the stuff that we love be degraded and trashed. You don't want none of this, darling. I don't think you're quite strong enough to handle it.
Mm-hmm.
So
I feel like this was needed.
Cathartic.
Clutch your pearls and snap, ladies. I think it's time to
clutch the pearls.
I think it's time to put this baby to bed. To be even more sexist. Matt G sent us $2. Said non-Star Wars note. Anniversary of John Lennon's passing. Yes, it is. I would say it's more like John Lennon's murder. But I know that sounds macabre, but it's true.
How could you?
Well, no, I mean, passing sounds like he went silently into the night.
Yeah.
So just got to be a little bit more true to that. And that's where this psychotic fandom, and they call us the toxic fandom. I've seen some crazy shit out of these other people. But anyway, let's bring this to a close. I want to thank all you guys out there for joining us. You guys have been an awesome crowd, just as awesome as these ladies have been. Panel, I want to thank them as always for their time and their input into the fandom menace and all things geeky and nerdy and genre entertainment involved. And of course, thank you again for all the super chats. I want to thank OG Star Wars Legends Gal for joining us as a guest this evening. Why don't you tell the folks real quick about you?
Okay, so I came in to do my channel maybe a month ago, so I'm new. I'm brand spanking new here, and people like Mary and John Talks and Abu Nas, they have inspired me to come on, especially with the character of Luke being destroyed. Made me come on, not made me, but inspired me to be here as a YouTuber now, sharing the lores, especially the original EU. So I'm so glad that I'm here with you guys, being able to share this experience here in toxic femininity, and being able to express my thoughts and opinions about the state of basically Hollywood and everything that's coming out of it. And thank you so much, Tom, for bringing me in. Miss, love you. Geeky, Candy, or Candace, love you too as well. Yeah. And I hope to be bringing more lore. I'm, going through the final end of college semester right now, and I am planning on expanding on Mandalores and all of that on my channel. So you guys, please subscribe and help a gal out.
Well, we're glad to have you here because you proved your Star Wars knowledge, and I'm like I said to Mary the first night I met you, I'm like, we got to get that girl on toxic femininity. She knows her shit.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. So Joshua 1984, it's nice to hear you say this. The show is a hit, Tom. Proof men aren't toxic. We love the ladies. That's right. It's been a wonderful night. You guys have really shown up for the ladies. Show your love and hit that like button. So, Miss, why don't you tell the folks real quick about yourself and where they can find you?
Hi guys, I'm the sarcastic nerd, but you can call me Miss. It isn't just a random title I decided to pick up. I am sarcastic as hell, and I am a nerd, and sometimes I hurt people. If you want to check out my channel, it's on YouTube, and it's Ms. Sarcastic Nerd. And if you want to follow me on Twitter, it's Ms. Sarcastic Nerd. I'm pretty neat outside of, the occasional murder and threats, and I make decent videos.
Yes, she does. Actually, did you guys see her They Can Fly Now video?
They can fly now.
They can fly now.
They can fly now. When's somebody going to do it with that song?
They can fly.
They can fly now. No, I'm talking about the Rocky theme.
Now I'm a flying talking donkey.
I'm going to make waffles. All right. Geeky Candy. Tell them a little bit about yourself and where they can find you.
Yes, I'm Candace, aka Geeky Candy, and I do have a channel. I'm getting so close to 3,000. I started in October, and thanks to lots of people just like you guys here, just someone wanting to say something about how aggravated I was with everything going on. Of course, there are lots of great things going on too, and on my channel right now, I am discussing a lot of Mandalorian. I have a lot of spoilers and leaks there that I talk about. I do reviews every week. I also do trailer reactions, and I talk a little bit about Batman and some other fun things that I find interesting, including theme parks and just a bunch of random stuff. I also play Call of Duty Modern Warfare right now and Fallen Order. Got another gameplay stream planned for tomorrow night, so come join me on my channel, you guys. I'll see you then.
Oh, yeah.
All right. And last but most definitely not least, Mary B., the Mistress of Mayhem. Tell them a little bit about yourself and where they can find you.
Well, hi guys, I am Mary B. I am the Mistress of Mayhem, disruptor of the narrative, and official Whammon card holder. You can find me over on my channel, Mary Mayhem, where I talk about newsy news stuff during the week, and then on the weekends I have a little fun. We do a little shake up for stuff, and I'm actually almost at 5,500 subscribers, so you guys feel free to come over and check me out. I'm good at the rants. I'm really good at the rants. So yeah, come check it out.
All right. I don't know if progressivism is necessarily disease, but forced progressivism, if I could talk, where it's unnecessary is most definitely a problem that hopefully we're overcoming with shows like this. And this, of course, is Toxic Femininity. And we want to thank you all again for joining us here on Midnight. Proving that the fandom menace isn't just toxic white males, it's Toxic Femininity, brought to you by Midnight's Edge, with Miss Sarcastic Nerd, Geeky Candy, and your hostess with the mostest, the Mistress of Mayhem herself, Miss Mary Mayhem.